They are picture books. And one, I didn't write it myself, so it's gonna be really my first picture book
You're gonna have to answer to
written.
someone else.
Yeah.
Get ready for the most mean person in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody is so like loving.
It's time for gabbed Doodle.
It's Thursday night. Wait a second. Didn't I do Gab and Doodle 2 nights ago? I did. And I'm doing it again. And then the next Tuesday, and then the next Thursday, Gab and Doodle all the time. Now technically I'm taking the week off of the holiday. I do this a lot on here. But no, it's 2 times this week, 2 times next week. And so tonight we have a lovely, lovely illustrator, Cecilia Ruiz here. This is the book A Gift from Abuela. Also did Mr. Fiorello's head, which I'm pretty sure I own, but I can't seem to find it in my, in my big pile of books over there. My wife keeps yelling at me. They're not alphabetized, and I need to do that and make it a whole lot easier to find. But we're going to have Cecilia on tonight. Let me get that up and going. There we go. Get the live feed up here. But a couple of reminders. So tonight, Cecilia. On Tuesday, we're going to have Meg Hunt. And then on Thursday, we're doing Game and Doodle with Jared Chapman, Kim Smith, and Nina Mata. And then I take a week break. And then we have more. And we keep going, and we keep going, and we keep going. And so it's going to be interesting because I don't know if I've ever done... I have done 2 nights in a week. But I've never done it for 2 weeks in a row. So it's a lot of people. So anyways, we're going to have on Cecilia Ruiz, and I will let Cecilia hear in just a second. But Cecilia does these like beautiful, really shape-based, almost looking like, look a little bit like a risograph, but sort of there's a texture to them that has this sort of vintage vibe that sort of shows up. And they're a graphic designer and illustrator that works out of New York, originally from Mexico, and we'll find out a little bit about that because I assume this book is somewhat autobiographical. And I always have to think which one's autobiographical and which one's biographical. So we'll find out a little bit more in a case like this about them and their work. As a reminder, I post the nightly recordings. I don't know what to call it. Nightly recordings, the web show, onto YouTube. So you can find that. It's at Studiohoffmann, Hoffman with 2 N's, on YouTube. And it will be posted here when we're done. So let me see if I can get our guest in here. Let me do a little... Oh, wait, what did I just do? Oh, first I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to put the Ask Us Anything in the chat. Or in the comments. Ask us anything. So should something come up... Oh, my wife says, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You got to click the like button below. This is if it's on YouTube right now. Like, you got to click the like button below. Ask us anything. There we go. And then I see Cecilia is on. So let me post this. I'm going to pin this. And then I will ask our special guest to join. So let me... Oh, wait. I got to do it this way. I don't know why this is hard for me. I've done it so many times. But it's challenging every time. Okay, here goes the invite. Cecilia. Let's see if it takes. There we go.
Oh, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I got it.
That's right. You wrote saying that it's like sort of a new venture to go live on Instagram.
I was like, I don't know what to do.
It's not the most like... I don't even, to be honest, I don't know when the last time I did it from your side. In other words, like getting the invite.
Yeah.
And what does it it come up in your DMs? Does it come up on screen, just a thing saying you've been invited?
Yeah, it showed up like a notification,
Okay.
but yeah, but I wasn't sure, so I kept going to my DMs, and I was like, oh, maybe it's gonna be here. But yeah.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've done that I just like I forget. I should add that to the little info of like here's how it pops up.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining
Of
us.
course. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. I want to ask you a real quick question because I mean I know you as Cecilia, but I know that your username is Cece. Do you go by Cece or do you go by Cecilia?
No. I mean, my name is Cecilia. I don't go by Cici.
Okay.
I go by Ceci,
Ceci.
which is yeah, Ceci.
Okay, there you go.
But I mean, some people call me Cici, and that's fine.
Yeah. I have a student that is Cecilia, and they go by Cici, and so I'm so used to saying that. So if I accidentally say that throughout the night,
it's fine. It's fine.
Please bear with me. So first of all, thank you so much for being here. I know that you're a teacher and a maker and a designer and an artist and an illustrator and all these things, and I know that sort of finding time to sit down and sort of effectively play and chat for a night can be challenging for everybody. So I really do appreciate you taking the time with us tonight.
My pleasure.
And then for those that don't know you or your work, can you give a quick little, like, from your point of view, an elevator pitch of who you are and what you do?
Yeah. My name is Cecilia Ruiz, and I am an author, illustrator. I'm a teacher. I'm also a graphic designer. That's my background is in graphic design. That's what I did for undergrad in Mexico, where I'm from.
Yep.
So I was born and raised in Mexico City, and I moved to New York City in 2010, so 14 years ago, and I came here to go to grad school for illustration.
That was SVA? Is that
right?
right?
Was SVA, yeah. So that's when I converted from graphic designer into illustrator. I still do graphic design, yeah. But I was able to change my career in a sense.
Do you look? Wait, this is. So I'm going to ask you questions. Some of these questions are probably going to be like pinpointed, and some of these are going to be hopefully not too challenging. But like looking back, do you feel like illustration was always kind of like doing kidlit or doing bookmaking was always the thing, and you sort of were venturing in a different territory for a while and sort of came to it? Or do you feel like it was something that just never was in the cards and then all of a sudden was presented with that as an option?
I had illustration classes in my graphic design undergrad. I had 2 illustration classes and I really liked them. But I didn't know that doing just illustration was an option.
Interesting.
As a graphic designer, I hoped that sometimes I could use my drawings in my design. And then, of course, in graphic design school, like I went to graphic design school because I love drawing. But as soon as I got into graphic design school, I stopped drawing, and I was mostly, with my hand. Then I was mostly drawing with the computer and in Illustrator.
Gotcha.
So I would do, I love doing icons and just vector illustration. And then I feel like I just drifted. But then I knew illustration was a thing, like and I didn't grow up with picture books.
Okay.
Like I grew up with illustrated books, like classic illustrated children's books.
Yeah, but not
picture book.
Yeah.
And I encountered picture books as an adult, and I really like that. And I enrolled in a continuing education program in Mexico City, an illustration one. and that was like a 6-month program or an 8-month program. I don't remember. And it was great because I was doing just like every week we would explore a different medium, like watercolor and then acrylics, and then I guess the speaker would come and they would teach us their medium. So I got to build an illustration portfolio then, and then that's when I started kind of like thinking about storytelling with images, and I actually submitted a project from that program. I submitted it to a contest, like a picture book contest in Mexico, and I think it's all Latin America actually.
Okay.
So it's a big contest. But I didn't get in or anything, but I feel like that was the first time that I was kind of thinking about stories.
Yeah, kind of something clicked.
Yeah, something clicked, and then I applied to the master's program, and even then I feel like I didn't know that was like a career path.
Did you what master's program did you apply to? Was it the visual essay or was it
the visual essay? Yeah.
Gotcha. So did you have Marshall?
Yeah, I had Marshall.
Lucky. I know that he has since passed.
Yeah.
Like all those people that got to, I use him as a reference for all the students that I teach, some of his writings with Stephen Heller.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And so I'm always jealous of people that went to SVA because they got to hang out with Stephen Heller.
Yeah.
Or not Stephen, Marshall Arisman.
With Marshall. Yeah, he was awesome. He was really awesome.
So tonight we're gonna chat and doodle, and we're gonna make. And I always sort of want to front load this and say internet can be spotty. So if internet goes down or anything sort, we'll work through it. But I know that like when I look at your work and I read the little blurb, because I'm always looking at the copyright, trying to figure out like, okay, what does it say they used? What does it say they used? And in most cases, I have seen things like mixed media, and that could be a multitude of things. Yeah. And so what do you normally use, and what are you going to use tonight for making?
I feel like it was actually Marshall who always recommended that we put mixed media in.
Oh, really?
In the medium. He was like, just put mixed media.
Make it easy?
Yeah. Yeah, usually I love printmaking.
Okay.
And part of my illustration process and is based in traditional printmaking. So I mostly carved shapes in rubber, like this
pink
pink
linoleum.
Rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pink linoleum.
Yeah.
Which is very soft. And I break down my drawings into pieces, and then I carve those pieces, and then I'm trying to see if I have some of those, and then I print them, and then I scan them, and then I do the coloring in Photoshop.
So it's basically you're making like black and white graphic print.
Yeah, mostly black actually.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly 100% black.
And then
so
oh, go ahead.
No,
go ahead, please. I was going to ask, with printing those, are you running them, because you can run that kind of stuff through some presses, but are you burnishing them with a spoon, or are you more of just a stamp and done? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, stamp. So it's small. I do more traditional printmaking as well, and I use a roller, and then maybe I just rub it with a spoon or.
It's a bit like the Jerome Humphrey and the old truck book where they do something similar where it's two brothers, the Humphrey brothers. They do that sort of like make their own series of stamps, and then it's a matter of like you have this plethora of shapes, and then how do you put it back together in some sort of digital coloring and whatnot, which is, to me, my first book, I did something of that sort, not necessarily stamps, but like lots of pieces.
Yeah,
put it back
like
together.
a puzzle.
My mind could not handle it of any sort. It was like there were too many pieces lying around, and I don't know what to do with it all.
You
Um,
had
so
physical pieces.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, mine were like painted, but I had to scan them and cut them out digitally and then slide them
Mm,
back together, and it was
yeah.
a nightmare. Um,
How do you
so
work now?
now it's collage. So
Collage.
and even after that book, I realized I'm never doing that again. So everything's a full painting or a full image, and I don't piece it together because
Mm.
it was just
So
cumbersome.
you do a collage on one piece of
Yeah.
paper. Ah, that's great. I've always wanted to work with collage, but I feel like I'm intimidated by the pieces on the paper.
it
Yeah.
I guess it does have a similar problem of like there's lots of pieces around. I
Yeah.
didn't even connect the dots there, but so are you going to be doing stamp stuff
I'm
today?
gonna be doing stamps because, but this is a little. I think it's more fun. I run a workshop, uh, and I've cut just pieces of rubber
Yep.
in basic shapes. I mean, different shapes. And then I have people creating things with them just by
So like abstract shapes and how you combine them becomes
yeah,
something. Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But I've never actually done the workshop myself. So
You're
so
teaching it,
this
but
is
you've never done it?
yeah, I've always wanted, and every time I run it, I'm like, oh my God, I wanna be doing it with them. I demo, of course, but now I'm gonna get
Yeah,
to
you're going
do
to
it.
actually do
I
it.
was like, oh, that's what I wanna
all
do.
those
Yeah.
all those people that did those workshops are going, wait a second, you've never done this before? They're all hearing that right now. So what do you use for the printing? Are you using inks or like printer's inks, or are you using
I'm
paint?
I'm using ink pads.
Oh, ink.
So
Oh,
so I have
nice.
a lot of ink pads, and there's some of them or most of them are semi-transparent, so the colors overlap a little bit,
Yeah.
which
I
is really
use
nice.
using ink pads is so smart. Like my initial thought is you get out some like printer's ink and you're
No.
rolling the on the glass and the whole mess, but
I'm
that's so much.
very lazy. I'm very
That's not lazy.
lazy, so
That's efficient. That
yeah,
is efficient.
but a
There's a
little
difference.
lazy because I don't want to be doing all the all
Clean
the
up.
cleaning, and then you have to re-ink, and then you have to. It's really messy. So I love the ink pads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so smart. The one thing that I always question with those rubber uh, uh, lino cut pieces is like the scale
Yeah.
and the amount. I imagine you're like reusing the other side and like the amount of reuse and
Yeah.
finding scraps to make like, oh, I need to make a little star. I have this tiny little piece over here. I'll cut it out.
Yeah. That's right. And at this point, I feel like I have so many, I've done so many shapes that a lot of times
Reuse.
I just
Yeah,
reuse them.
that's smart. Like I said,
So
that's efficient. That is
yeah,
not easy of any sort. I wish I was smart enough to reuse, but I don't. It's funny because I have this big tub of like collaged paper that I work with that I've
yeah,
pre-painted, and I rarely ever go into it.
really, yeah,
I always create new almost every single time. Um,
yeah.
the-
But maybe that's what I've realized is that is probably part of your process, and you need to do it in order to get to the next step. Because whenever I recycle shapes from other art that I've done,
yeah,
it's kind of like a trap because the shape is not actually exactly the way I want. So I
gotcha.
end up spending more time trying to fixing it and making it what I want. And I feel like I would actually spend less time if I started from scratch. And then I feel like the process, just starting from the beginning and then following all the steps, actually, I think gets my brain in a better place in a
That
way
makes sense.
where maybe I don't overthink, or I'm like, oh
It's just
yeah, I do
it's not
this and then I do that and then I do this. Yeah.
it's not economically sound to constantly make new stuff, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where yeah, I can understand the idea of trying to fit stuff in, and if it's not the exact edge you want or they're not the exact size, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I gotta go find. Yeah, you make one tree, and then all of a sudden you have to redesign the background to go around it because you did that one thing. So
Yeah.
why don't we? I already know what you're working with. I already know what you're making, because you said you're going to make things out of pre-existing shapes. So it's not no thing. I'm not even 100% sure what I'm doing yet. But why don't we switch to our downshoots and we can just start talking? The only thing I would say is, again, if you need to leave at any point, don't hesitate. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So if you get bored, you can tell me I'm bored.
I'm just going to be like, bye.
Yeah, I won't be offended of any sort. And then the other, the other thing I was going to say was, topic-wise, we'll talk about making, we'll talk about books, we'll talk about all that stuff. But if there's any topics you don't want to jump into, or if there's any things that you want to change, don't hesitate. I sort of leave this all open in general. It's mainly a conversation, more so than like any set plan. So, so I'm going to switch. I have a feed here so I can see the.
So now,
So
okay, I need to turn my phone, and I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say I have a feed here so I can watch and make sure that everything's set up okay and that we get stuff. The main thing is keeping it vertical so it doesn't turn on us.
Hold on. This is like my worst nightmare.
I'm watching from my end so I can help. And the pan down. Is there any way right now to flip your phone 180?
180.
Because right now it's upside down. In other words, where your hands are going to be there at the top of the image. So if you actually literally, if there's a mount that you have your phone in, just spin it.
Okay.
And that should solve.
Ooh. Shoot. I just, hold on. Oh my God.
This is the trick of, I've been doing this for a long time now. And so I have a system. But
yeah, I just broke mine.
Oh no. The setup.
Oh.
We will get you. It doesn't. You can take as long as you want.
Okay, I'm gonna have to have. Okay, hold on.
There's no pressure to be fast. Let's put it that way.
Oops. Okay. Okay.
Ooh, I get to see your mount. I get to see the
my super cheap mount.
Hey, it works.
Okay.
At one point, I was using tape and a piece of wood and some clamps and things of the sort. That's higher tech than how I started.
Okay. Man, these things are okay. I think
Fidgety at best.
Okay. So you asked to do this?
So
or is this still?
Let me. I'm just trying to watch where your hands come in. So it's upside down right now on screen. So if there's a way to like rotate that 180, and then yes, and then just get the page or the surface in the shot. That's all. If it's too hard, you can go upside down. I'm not gonna say no.
Is that showing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Hold on. Now I'm like.
And one thing you can do,
so
you can also, well, you can pinch your screen and zoom in and zoom out.
Pinch my screen. Okay.
And it will let you get a wider shot if you want than what it actually is. So right now, my guess is if you pinch the screen where yours is, you should be able to zoom in and zoom out accordingly.
Is that better?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. It's a question of
close, no?
It's close, but it's a matter of as long as you move it around so people can see. I think you're fine. I don't want you to go out of your way to try to rebuild the setup if that works for you. So let me do this. Are you okay talking while you set up?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a little bit about sort of your background, and you mentioned the idea of coming to kids books relatively late or picture books rather, relatively later in life.
Yep.
Did you know that the picture books were out there and just didn't see them on a regular basis, or was it you had no idea that was a realm in which work was made?
No, I started seeing them more as an adult when I would go into the bookstores. I would go to the kids section, but because I like looking at the art. So I started looking at them with a different eye, I guess. And even then, I just didn't even think that I could pursue that, or that could be in the cards for myself. And even at SVA, I still didn't think of it until I started getting assignments, and then I kind of organically, all my ideas were books.
They sort of without your choice, they lean that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because the program was pretty open, so some people did edit. I mean, it was just like make a series of images,
Yeah.
So some people were doing editorial stuff, and I also thought I wanted to do editorial illustration. So I thought I think I went into the SVA program thinking that I would end up doing editorial illustration.
Was there like an assignment or something specifically that allowed you to venture down the path of literature or narrative, or was it a culmination of a bunch of different things happening that sort of went that way?
No, I mean, I think from my first semester, my first project, we were given a text.
Okay.
And like a short story, and we had to come up with a project based on that story. But that story was just the starting point. We could come up with something completely different. It's not like we had to illustrate that text.
But it was just a prompt,
just it was a prompt. So that text, it was a short story about a woman dealing with Alzheimer's. So then the book project I came up with was to, I mean, as I started researching about memory, I read about a lot of different memory disorders, and I decided that I wanted to do a series to create fictional characters based on different memory disorders. And at that time, one of my biggest influence was Edward Gorey, and I really like the formats of a lot of his books where they're just there's not a continuous narrative, but there's just like a theme, and there's
moments.
So that was kind of like the book idea that I came up with. But I also realized that the type of, when I had to imagine an illustration, my brain worked more in a narrative way. So I was thinking of a moment to illustrate as opposed to conceptual illustration. And that's something I just discovered while I was in school and with assignments, like that my approach was way more narrative than
Did
conceptual.
did you find that because you started out in design, I mean, not that it's going to sound weird because some people are going to go, what does that even mean? But um, were you more of a narrative designer or were you more of a conceptual designer? Like, was there a difference between the way that you illustrated and the way that you designed?
Uh, I think the design tends to be more conceptual.
Okay.
I did a lot of like conceptual illustrations, like icons.
Okay.
Um, and I also did a bunch of magazine covers, and most of them were conceptual. Yeah, but I feel like maybe that's just a little more the design
Yeah,
approach.
yeah, no, I mean, it's hard. The reason why I said people may not understand is like, to me, there are illustrative designers and
Mm-hmm.
there are conceptual
Yeah,
designers, and the illustrative ones not necessarily mean that they're illustrating, but they like to have a character. So if they're doing like a logo design or they're doing something of that sort, oftentimes it features, you know, a character doing something, and it's that
yeah,
opportunity to all of a sudden throw in your illustrative skills or the some of that, a little storytelling of there's a person fixing a broken down car, and like those kind of moments. Um, but then there's the folks who are like, I want no character, I want just pure like design and
yeah.
graphic and whatnot. And so, did you when you made that sort of leap into illustration, or what I would call illustration proper in this case, um,
Mm-hmm.
did you find that there was like the designer in you was trying to lean a certain direction ever?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for sure. But I was resisting my designer impulse
Okay.
because my idea of illustration was a more narrative one to begin with. So to me, to be an illustrator was like, oh, there's like these images are supposed to be telling a story. And then the other thing is that my impulse was a graphic approach to illustration, like what I'm doing. But I was resisting that because in my head, being an illustrator meant to be able to fully render things.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I was like, oh, I have to paint. So I was trying to use watercolor and wash and trying to do more realistic stuff or more complex stuff with perspective and light and shadow. And I was having such a hard time because that's just not the way I think of
So
images.
let me ask you, because I feel like it's funny because I paint, like I'm using paint, but I still think of myself as a designer or illustrator in a sense of like I'm less worried about light and shadow and less worried about sort of like really crazy perspectives
Mm-hmm.
in the work that I do. I'm more interested in how they look as a composition on the page or the shape design and things of that sort, which to me leans towards that designer side. But with um, with you working in that sort of process, do you feel like when you said it was hard for you, or it was a hard time trying to do sort of the quote unquote traditional illustration application,
Mm-hmm.
um, was that a technical thing for you, like just painting was difficult, or was it the approach using paint to think about organization of concept or narrative?
No, it was more the act of painting,
Okay.
because um, I'm not very good with all those things with light and shadow and perspective, um, and also I in my head, I thought I needed to create very complex images,
Yeah.
you know, like with a lot of things in them. So that first project I did, I really liked coming up with the stories, but I hated painting those images.
Okay.
Really had a hard time. Like I did not enjoy it one bit. And the other part that I hated was feeling like it had to work in one go. Like I had to have this original piece of paper with a painting, and that I could not make mistakes, because if I made a mistake, I would have to start over.
Gotcha.
So that gave me a lot of
Stress.
stress.
Yeah. Anxiety,
Um,
what have you.
yeah, which I mean, I wanted to work analog, but it was very excruciating. And then my comfort zone was a computer. So when I finally figured out that I could work in pieces
Yeah.
and then finish everything in the computer, then that was like the golden ticket for me.
Did you what okay, so this is one of those questions that I, asking students, and I'm sure you ask this all the time, and then all of a sudden I'm going to ask you it, and who knows, but it sounds to me, and I do the same thing. Sometimes I put barriers in the way where they don't need to be. And I didn't give myself permission to do certain things. So like for a majority of my illustration career, I felt like I was trying to mimic or to appease some overseer of illustration, that it's got to look this certain way, or that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you have this epiphany where you go, no, it doesn't. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
And who's going to stop me? Kind of situation. Was there a, like, do you have a sense of where that idea of I'm not allowed to do this way came from? Like, was that previous teaching that, or not teaching, but teachers that kind of implied this is the way that you make it in this career?
You mean
or was it
like
self-imposed?
rendering stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, it was totally self-imposed.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally self-imposed.
Because I imagine you
Yeah.
you have students at this point where you say the same thing of like, why are you making it this way? You don't have to do it for me.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
Yeah.
And yet and I include myself in this, we sort of fall into the same pitfalls on a regular basis of like, well, I just got to do this way because that's the way it's done.
Yeah, but I in a way I feel like I had to go through that to come back to the flat.
Yeah.
Like the flatness of my style. If I hadn't gone that route, then I wouldn't have embraced the graphic style that I naturally go to.
So what is it about, and I see there's a question, I want to make sure I get to the question, but what is it about the graphic style that appeals to you? Not what your art director or what the publisher says, but what is it about it that makes you go, this is the thing that is meant to be?
Mm-hmm. In terms of just the style of image.
Yeah.
Well, I really like. I think in terms of shapes, even though, and I think that really comes from graphic design, from my graphic design background, because that's something that you learn in graphic design school. You learn to translate everything you draw into shape.
Yep.
So I feel like that just feels very just like my comfort zone in a way. And then with the other thing that I think comes natural to me is just thinking in terms of layers of color. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense,
No,
but
that you sort of naturally gravitate towards like stacking color versus
yeah,
a single one-off. Um, I it's interesting like to hear and to think, or at least for me, I don't know if it's interesting for you, but to go back and reflect on like why. In fact, we're in the, I don't know if you're in the same stage at school, but we're in the middle of end of semester evals where we're sitting down with all the students going through all their work they made during the semester.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that question of why. Why are you
Why?
doing this?
Yeah,
And what's the importance of it? Like obviously people care,
yeah,
but can they describe why they do what they do? And I look at
yeah,
your work and I like clearly your work is shape.
yeah.
Shape is a huge star in your work, and I'm gonna sort of praise you for a second here, and so hopefully bear with this. Don't get all blushy on me here, but just the idea of like when I first started out, I had no inkling about, because I was coming from a world of rendering, and it was like
Yeah.
I'm gonna render the crap out of this stuff because that's just what you do.
What is your
And then
what is your
uh,
background? What did you go to school
I
for?
I went for
Mm.
illustration, but I was going for like at the time when I was going, it was rendering was a little bit more involved in the industry, and I
Yeah.
was doing editorial work, and I was not as free as I am
Mm.
now, or shape oriented
Yeah.
as I am now. And so like when I originally started, my impression was people who did these like sort of simple shapes, I was like, oh, that's too easy. That's
Yeah.
so easy. How dare they get
Yeah.
away with that? And there was a bit of a, whether it be jealousy or ego or
Yeah.
whatever it is that showed up.
Yeah.
Now I look at it and I go, that is not easy at all. How do they do that? Because it's,
I felt the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's looking at your work. I'm not saying that it's simple, but like I used the word earlier, but efficient.
Mm.
And so like the shape choice
Yeah.
is so precise and so clean
Yeah.
that if it's cut just wrong, or if the layers are stacked in the wrong way, like the colors stacked in the wrong way, all of a sudden you go like, oh, that's too much. And it's all about editing instead. And
Yeah.
I couldn't process that at the time.
Yeah. I feel very sympathetic to that because that's exactly why I was trying to render in grad
Yeah,
school because I had that the same impulse of like, oh, this needs like if it's gonna be good, it needs to be really hard.
yeah, 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 yeah. You got to suffer for
I
your
need to
art.
suffer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's funny because I look at it now and I go like, I'm trying to, and I don't know if you're in the same ballpark, but I'm trying to get back to that point in my life wherein I just didn't care and I made artwork. And
Yeah.
it's hard to do that, especially like I assume for you too, after going through an undergrad and then getting a master's degree, to go back and go like screw all that. Let's
Yeah.
let's let's go back to like why we, like a little kid version of ourselves, and go, hey, I just want to make this because it's fun,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. Um, I do see a lovely question here. This is from Sarah Hockman, it looks like.
Oh, Sarah.
Do you know Sarah?
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. Sarah was my editor
Oh,
for my
okay.
first book.
Okay, there we go. So Sarah's trying to get you all challenged with this question, which uh, is it more fun or less or the same to create books for adults or children?
Uh, Very good question, Sarah.
Yeah, because you do have that like duality of working on things that are aimed for a very young market and stuff that's aimed for a much older audience, or I
Y-
shouldn't say a more sophisticated audience.
Yeah, I feel like I I think I just start the book idea without thinking too much about who it's going to be for.
Yeah,
Um, maybe what gives me a sense of who the book might be for, it's no, that's not true. I was gonna say that the how I imagine the images might lean towards one or the other, but that's not true
okay.
because that's that's I was gonna lie. Um, no, I honestly I think I mostly think that all my books are for adults, and then some of them might be also for children. Um,
So,
Yeah,
well, okay. So let me, because
kind of.
I have
And
a gift from
yeah,
Abuela here,
the,
right? And I
yeah.
know I'm massacring the word Abuela.
No, you're not. You're
It's got a
not.
very generic
But
version of it, but
now that you say that, mention that one, I actually thought of it for children. So again, I lied.
yeah. Well, that's what
Um,
I was going to ask. Is that a book for adults? Because now,
no.
keep in mind though that like yes, it's for kids, but in reality, it's about a grandma,
Yeah.
an abuela, and the child, and you could read it from both points of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Uh,
That's why I ask, like, is that one actually for adults in the same, like, to the same level it is for kids? Is it for, in a way, is it for the grandmother, for the abuela, just as
well,
much
that,
as it is for a little
yeah,
kid?
I think so. I hope so. Uh, I hope so. I. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know that I have an easy answer for that.
Yeah.
For that, because I struggle with that when I thinking about books a lot, uh, and I try not to think about who they're gonna be for, at least not too early, and then just try to just say what I want to
Yeah.
say.
Make a good story first.
Yeah, and then I I can um, tailor it and get it to a more obvious audience.
Do you,
Uh, yeah.
does that work for your editors though? And I don't mean this in like a mean spirited thing, but like the editors probably going like, oh, this is too old, or this is too young, or like do they allow that freedom to sort of figure out who it's for almost later in the process?
No, I mean, I feel like, oops, I hit the thing. I feel like, no, I feel like by the time I talk to an editor, I think there's already an idea that it's gonna be either for adults or for
Yeah,
children.
the decision has been
Uh,
made.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then if there are things in the dummy or in the book that maybe are not lining up, then those are the things that might be polished or work
Yeah,
on, you know?
yeah, that's where you allow the editor to come in and go, okay, we know the
Yeah,
audience now, let's tweak it to, or
yeah.
make it more finite in that manner. um is there a uh, uh, when you're working on it, obviously, like you try to write a good story and you try to make something special, and then you sort of decide. But do you feel like there's a voice in the way that you write that tells that, or is it more of a visual cue that tells you who it's for?
Yeah, I think that's where this gray area is with me, because my illustration style is very children friendly.
Yep.
um, but a lot of times the words are used, they're not they're more adult sounding.
Okay.
So sometimes that's where the changes happen, where
Is
it's
in the wording
in
or
the wording.
got
Yeah, just the language. um I think.
now is it happening? And this is a debate that I have with myself, and I even have a student that is a librarian that sort of has an argument for like we shouldn't change the words for kids
Yeah.
because we want them to, like we don't want to dumb it down or make it rudimentary
Yeah.
in a way. But at the same time, there are words that are literally like sometimes books are meant to be a certain education level or a certain understanding.
Hmm.
Um, but is that something that you sort of decide to do, or is that something that the editor and you come to the conclusion that like we should change the wording or youngify it or whatever you want to call it?
No, I mean, I think it's a conversation, and it hasn't happened to me that much where it's like huge changes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just maybe one word that maybe is too sophisticated. Or the other thing is that I'm not a native English speaker.
Yep.
So a lot of times I use words that are common in Spanish, but in their translation in English, it's like very sophisticated.
Oh, okay.
Or it's just not used very commonly.
Yeah, just
So it's
awkward
hard to know
combination.
where that is coming from. If it's
Gotcha.
from my not being a native speaker.
Have you done any books that are in Spanish?
That one, the gift from Abuela,
Yeah.
it was published in Spanish by Candle Week as well.
Okay.
So I
But
did the translation of my own.
ooh, fancy.
Which was a very interesting experience.
Well, I was saying on the last time or Tuesday night when I was doing this before, that the one of my favorite books this year is a book that's Estonian, and my agent was saying that she doesn't know whether she knows the writing's really good in it, but she doesn't know whether it's the original text because she can't read Cyrillic or Estonian writing.
Yeah.
She can only
What
read
is
the
the
translation, and is the translator the one who like tweaks the words,
Yeah.
and it's sort of a fascinating to me subject.
Yeah.
I need your opinion because I've just been building colors. I don't know which one of these I want to
Okay.
do, and you get to help me decide.
Hold on, because I need to like
Oh,
get
it's a
under
book.
my phone to see.
Oh.
Oh.
So if you can see this, the question is, do I want to do a space themed one where it's kids going up in outer space in a rocket, or this one's a little bit complicated and hard to see, but it's a person packing a car full of suitcases and like moving day essentially. Do you have a preference which one you would like to see?
Space.
Okay,
Yeah.
space it is. Easy enough. I always come up with a couple, and I'm never sure exactly what direction I want to go until I just start making. So tell me a little bit about the teaching side, because you teach design, correct?
I teach design. I teach risograph class, and I teach illustration.
Okay, so you do teach illustration. For some reason in my research earlier, I got the impression that illustration was out of that range, and you were sort of solely in the design world. How do you, because you're doing it both, and then you're teaching, both essentially, do you feel like there's a different switch in your brain that you have to flip to be able to jump from one to the other, or do you feel like
from design
contextually
and illustration?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that apply.
Yeah. I mean, technical wise,
both ways. Yeah, but like, like foundation, like the foundations are very similar in terms of composition and color and all those basic things. But there's just something about the main difference is in I guess, well, the other thing that it's very similar because it's all about clarity in communication.
Yeah.
So it's just a different type of projects, I guess. And the main difference, I think, is that in design we're constantly dealing with typography. So that's huge. I have to talk a lot about fonts and kerning and all those things, which I don't do in illustration.
Obviously there's like in your brain as a person who has dealt with both, there must be some like easy connection and easy, like you don't probably have to turn off a switch and turn on a switch to switch between the two. Um,
No.
it just sort of naturally flows out of you. But do you have recommendations for, like, since there are people that watch this who are interested in starting a career, and there may be some designers out there who are going, I really want to jump into kidlit, but I don't know the first thing to do. And it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to go and say, like, okay, go get an agent and that side of it. But I'm wondering, are there like tricks that you could say from someone who's both a designer and illustrator of, like, here's how you transition from design to illustration?
Well, I would say, and this is my case, I never stopped doing design until I had enough illustration work that I could, that I had enough that I didn't need to do the design work.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, I would say up until maybe five years ago or 6 years ago, I still had a part-time job as a designer,
Okay.
because they paid very well and it was like my steady paycheck.
Yeah.
So I think the best way to transition is just to, if you are a designer and you have a design job that pays well, keep it, and then do
Yeah.
keep it and then do illustration on the side, and it's gonna be, as it's not a drastic transition.
Yeah.
It should be smooth and safe. Because I mean, unless you get a job as an illustrator, which is difficult, is rare. But if you want to freelance as an illustrator, to me that's really is risky, because you never know if you're gonna get the next job.
When you were
So
doing design work, was it through a studio and stuff, or was it freelance, like contract?
my part-time
Yeah.
design,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like a contract. I was a contractor. Yeah, is that the word?
Yeah.
Like it was. I was not in the. Yeah, I would go maybe 2 days or 3 days a week to a design studio, and then I was for many years I was going to cosmetics company working as a
Okay.
designer.
The
And
reason why I ask is you say that, like, design or that illustration is maybe more finicky because of there's less consistency, but I'm like, there's some design fields or some industries within design that are just as challenging.
yeah, I
As
mean, I was working with a company. I was not freelancing as a designer.
Gotcha.
I mean, if I got a gig, like as a designer, I would take it. But I I had yeah a, a steady paycheck.
So I want to ask a question that's sort of semi-related, that came up today. So again, we're doing these evals at the end of the semester, and one of the students, we they get to show their work. We talk about their work for a long time, and then the last sort of send off is we go, do you have any questions for us? And most of the time the questions are really sort of rudimentary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think of my work? And it's like, we just spent the last half hour talking about your work. What else you got? And one of the students today said, what motivates you to make work?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was a really challenging question because it was sort of, I don't know as I can pinpoint that answer. And part of that is, is it financial? Is it fun? Is it, is there some reward to it? Is it, like, there's all sorts of ways to sort of look at that. And when you're talking about, like, having the day job, because we started talking about having the day job so you can do stuff at night. That potentially is your, your real focus or your real interest. And I'm wondering, in your case, do the idea of having that design job or having a day job, do you see that as beneficial or challenging to your vested interest in, you know, whether it be kidlit or whether it be, you know, some other avenue of art making?
Having a job.
Yeah, having a job that is like tangential or is, you know, potentially not the pure fun art for you.
Yeah. Well, uh, yeah, of course, it's in the way of the art making a lot of times, but one has to eat
Yeah.
and pay the rent,
Okay. Good.
and it has to be done. And in a way, I mean, and this is just very personal. I am the kind of person that I'm a good worker, you know? Like I like having a boss in a way,
Okay.
and just be like,
Makes sense.
you need to do this, and this is what's expected.
Yeah.
And if it's a lot of times, if it's something that I don't care enough about it, just enough that I don't stress out too much,
Yeah,
you know?
you're good with a prompt.
So it's great because
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these design jobs, they were great money, a good paycheck, and it was a type of work. It was still in the creative field, but it was easy enough that I was not suffering through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't care that much about it either. So then it was like a good mix of things in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, but of course, there's the passion jobs, which is for me is making books. But those take a long time. They move very slow. Just, you know, sometimes the ideas just, it takes a lot of time for them to cook. And yeah, so in the meantime, one needs to work.
Yeah.
And sometimes just other jobs actually kind of like allow you to think about the projects in an indirect way.
Yeah. You get
So I
an
don't know
idea through the other source.
yeah, I don't know if that answered
No,
your
that does.
question,
Just
but
the idea of like, you know, my answer to the student today was basically like, as gross as it sounds, like sometimes it's just about finances. Not every it's work. Like as much as
yeah,
I want to say it's this beautiful thing where I sit back and I get to explore my feelings. Like no, sometimes it's just straight up work, and you got to
and
get.
there's nothing gross about
I,
it. I don't
I,
think
there's nothing gross about it to me. I think
yeah.
there's a subculture within art schools sometimes that or a holdover in certain art schools in America specifically that art should be pure and not about finance and not about, you know, like you need to live, breathe, and eat art.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes I'm like, no, sometimes I want to have my weekends and
Yeah.
I want to like disconnect from it. And so like, is it always the most fun thing to do? No.
No.
Do you what is, speaking of that, like what is the thing that you find the most challenging about being an art maker? And I say art maker in general, not necessarily like kidlit, but just someone who makes art. Where do you go, oof, that's the thing I hate?
Not that I hate, but that I struggle with a lot is um, playing. I wish I could be uh, just more playful when I'm thinking about stories and when I'm thinking about, yeah, what I'm making. Sometimes I get apprehensive
Okay.
and I'm like, oh, I have to like it, and then it starts, yeah, I start kind of like getting nervous about it.
What now?
And
Your
yeah,
agent's Erica Silverman, right?
yeah.
Do you do you have you ever expressed that to her of the
Um,
like that you know you're not necessarily fearful, but that you're the idea of like losing control
uh,
is challenging?
I don't think I've ever talked to her about it. Um, no, maybe. No, I don't think so.
Now, if
Um,
she's listening right now, uh, and I don't think she is, but just that idea of like sometimes I myself am in that same boat where like I need permission.
yeah,
I need someone to say like it's okay, you can do that. Uh, Even though I can say that to students, I still can't like give myself the freedom.
yeah, yeah. The other thing that I struggle with is just discipline, a little bit of discipline. Sometimes if I don't have a deadline, uh, um, I can take my time. You know,
Okay, wait.
I'm not one. There are people that they when they have free time, they they draw.
Yeah.
They all they want to do is draw and make images, and I'm not that type. If I have free time, I want to watch TV or read or watch a movie. Um, and, and I feel like that's that's the time where I could actually play and experiment. Um, but I don't, and I think I was just I and maybe this is also I blame everything on my graphic design background a lot of times. But
Okay.
I think because I like when I studied graphic design, I kind of understood that I made art when I had a job or when I had a client.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that in a way I'm working on it, but I still feel like a lot of times that's my mindset is like only if someone is waiting to receive something from me, that's when I do it. Um, so that's one of the things that I struggle with is just like, okay, using my time to create when no one is asking for it.
I I totally get it. I mean, it's the same thing with me,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the reason why I say it's a job is that
Mm-hmm.
it's after doing this for so long and for after teaching on a regular basis, and it's not to say that teaching is like awful of any sort, but there's only so much art thinking you can do in a day, whether it be for yourself or for someone else,
Yeah.
uh, that you can do without having to detox in some
Yeah.
manner. And so like for me that is, yeah, I like when the student asked like how do you stay motivated, like sometimes it's like you don't make art and
Yeah.
you sit around and maybe you feel guilty because you're
Yeah.
not making art, but like maybe that's what you
Yeah.
need, you know.
Yeah. What do you teach?
So I teach illustration, um, primarily.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught all sorts of like I've taught graphic design, I've taught animation, I've taught drawing, etc. But my wheelhouse is illustration.
Illustration.
But I primarily teach um, professional practice and sort of project management classes.
Mm-hmm.
So like thesis, you know, end of their tenure at school, that kind of stuff. And that's why I
Yeah.
mentioned Marshall Arisman is like I use his writings with Stephen Heller a lot to talk to my professional practice class about sort of like, you know, the debate on ethics in illustration and some of those. Did you read any of his work, his writings?
Uh, I don't remember. I mean, I feel like these things I remember reading is his fiction um, work.
Oh, okay.
So, but I don't know that I've read anything about teaching
Oh, yeah, yeah.
with yeah.
They have books about like the art of business and the art of teaching illustration. and a bunch of odds and ends like that
That's
that
great.
I've picked up over the years, and so I sort of lean on those because I think they're so wise and smart, and some of them are antiquated.
Yeah.
They've been around for so long, but they still, like, when you read between the lines, you go, oh wow, they're really saying something that's
Yeah.
still viable to kids that are graduating. But yeah, I primarily teach in that range, and so, like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go home and draw a bunch of dragons if I'm dealing with a bunch of kids who want to draw dragons all day long.
How many classes per semester do you teach?
That one's a little more challenging. I only teach 2 classes per semester. I'm actually the chair of the visual communication. This is like the sales pitch here. I'm the chair of the visual communication and design division at the school that I teach at. So I help oversee graphic design and illustration and animation. And we have a new one called Games, Toy, Play. And so I'm the point person between them and the admin. So I get a course release. So technically I only teach 2 classes, but I'm in meetings and dealing with paperwork and politics on a regular basis. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Are you adjunct?
I'm adjunct. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're at SVA. What's the other school you're at?
I'm at SVA and I'm at Queens College.
Queens College. That's right. There's so many colleges down in New York at this point that I can never remember exactly where everybody teach. Is.
I have a question.
Yeah,
quick
go for
question
it.
for you. Should I give this person I'm creating rosy cheeks or a mustache?
Okay, you're asking the wrong person here because I'm immediately going to go mustache.
Okay.
I think like I shouldn't say the wrong person, but it's no debate in my mind. It is mustache from the beginning.
Okay.
I am I only recently during the pandemic realized that I could grow my own mustache. So now mustaches are fun. So yeah, it was clear winner for me.
Great.
What kind of mustache is the question, actually? I should be asking.
But
there's too many options there.
Too many options. We'll see what I can.
What are we talking here? Are we talking a big, like, bushy mustache? Are we talking a little tiny, like John Waters wisp of a mustache?
We'll see. Let me see. Let me see what I've got.
I'm asking the tough questions now. So now you say that your vice is watching TV and things of the sort. What are we watching? What's your escape?
I feel like can
you
I have
admit it?
I have many.
Okay.
But have you ever watched a British show called Taskmaster?
You didn't. You didn't say probably my favorite show in the world.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's the best. It's the best.
Finished season 18 last night.
Yeah.
Have you seen all the seasons?
Yeah, we finished season 18 maybe a week ago.
I was even researching, like, who's going to be on the next season.
Me too. I already Googled that, and we don't know yet.
Yeah, there's rumors. There's rumors who it will be, but that's not the same as official word. No, that's one of the I use that as a reference point in teaching all the time too. That class or that show. For anybody that doesn't know, it's Taskmaster. It's on BBC 4, I think.
I watch it on YouTube sometimes, and sometimes on Prime.
Yeah, we watch it on YouTube, but originally it's on BBC 4 if anybody's in England. But it's how would you describe the show? Like, why is that a show that you watch?
It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. I always end up finish very happy. It makes me happy. It's very funny. It's witty. The people that go on that, it's a game show. The people that go on the game show are so quick with their wits. So it's fun. fun.
One of the things that I like about it, and this maybe goes back to like my education, is it reminds me. So for anybody that doesn't know, just so people understand what we're talking about, it's a show where they give you a prompt that you need to do this thing, whatever it may be. And sometimes it's abstract, sometimes it's very like literal, like you need to get this egg across this lawn, but you can't touch it. And so people have to find
a task.
yeah, it's literally a task. And people have to find creative ways to do these tasks that meet the criteria that is put in front of them. And the reason why I tend to like it is because it actually goes back to my undergrad, wherein the school that I went to, it feels like some of the assignments that we got freshman year of, you have to accomplish this goal. Here are the things you have to play by. And so it's like the equivalent of like the egg drop, the classic egg drop, where you get a certain amount of material and you have to drop this egg and not have it crack. But instead you get these crazy comedians who have no sense of how to accomplish things in a normal manner, and they go wild. No, that show is wonderful. I can't speak highly enough about that. What else are we tackling?
Well, because we love Taskmaster in this household, we started also watching Would I Lie to You?
What is that?
I don't know if you've
That
watched
one. I don't know.
that one. It's also a British game show, and I love it. I love it so much. It's there are two teams, and there's a team captain in each team, and the team captains, they're always there, so they're part of the hosts.
Okay.
And then each team has two guests every episode, and the premise is that people read a statement from a card, and that statement can be a true fact or a lie about themselves. So the opposing team has to ask questions and figure out if they're telling the truth or if they are lying. But it's, again, the things they claim to be true, they're really funny.
Okay.
And sometimes they are funny. I mean, they're true. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're true. So it's one of those where most of the time you really don't know if people are telling the truth or if they're lying. And if they're lying, the interesting thing is that they have to make it up on the spot.
Yeah.
So they have to come up with a plausible story on the spot. And and they're
Is it a lot of the same
really smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
a lot of the same comedians, they've gone to that show.
Yeah, we watched a couple of different shows that are. I haven't watched that one in particular, but a couple of 8 out of 10 Cats do Countdown, which is an old one that has a lot of the same folks that run through it. And
what is that called?
There used to be a show called 8 out of 10 Cats. I have no idea why it was called that. And then there was a show called Countdown, and they had two similar sort of things and mashed them together into a show called 8 out of 10 Cats do Countdown. But again, it's got all the same folks that you see on Taskmaster showing up on it. But it's again, it's that it sounds weird that I'm so excited about this topic, but I really do love the idea of the show because it ventures into abstract thinking, and you add in people who are witty or funny or ridiculous, and it makes us laugh every single time. When you teach, and this is going back to that idea of sort of that design thinking or that process of sort of the challenge of what you give the student to get them to think outside the box or what have you. Do you give assignments that are in that same sort of challenging, they can't just do the typical approach? Or are you teaching more fundamentals, you got to literally learn how to use Illustrator first before you can play around?
Yeah, well, I have a mix of age,
Yeah.
in my design classes, um, a lot of it's design one, so it's early. Um, so that one is, yeah,
Yeah.
more straightforward design assignments like a poster, a book cover, a logo. Um, so no, not outside of the box. Um, then the research class I teach. Let me think. I give them, no, I mean, they have to make a guide,
Yeah.
uh, like a how-to, and it can be anything. So some of the ideas they come up with, they're outside of the box. Uh, you
Yeah.
like how to pick your nose. I mean, they can do any how-to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um,
Wait, have they actually done how to pick your nose?
no.
Okay. So you said it like it was a gross thing, but then it was you who came up with the idea. So
I didn't say it was gross.
okay. The tone. It
It,
challenged it challenged the idea in my mind. That's gross. I
that's the
mean
mustache.
the it sounds like a lot of the classes you teach are these like not necessarily fundamentals, but like uh they need the technical side first before you have to learn how to walk
Yeah.
before you can run.
Yeah, well, I also teach thesis, so
Oh really?
I
Okay.
have a big, yeah, so it's a big range. And then, I mean, you also teach thesis, right?
Yep.
So that's up to them what they want to do.
Is there so here's one of the questions I get all the time from students or the challenge. So I'll work with a student and then they'll go, well, you gave me that idea, so I can't use it. Like if I'm pitching ideas to them of how they can change their project or what have you, and then I have to say to them like, I have no interest in drawing what I just explained to you, because a lot of times it's like their story or it's just not inherently my jam of what I would like to draw. Um, do you find yourself like running into that problem as well, or is that just a me thing?
Were were you, I don't know that I understood.
Oh,
Were
okay.
you were like what they are coming up with is just not your cup of tea?
Yeah, like the equivalent of I used as an example, like students who are like, I want to draw cool dinosaur
Yeah.
lizard people. And then I go, well, here's what you should do with it. And then they go, well, now I can't use it because you came up with that idea of how to use those dinosaur lizard people.
Mm,
But in reality, am I going to go home and draw dinosaur lizard?
no,
No, I'm
no.
not. I have no interest. Um, it's like it's just not my cup of tea. Um,
Yeah.
do you end up with that, or do you end up? And part of this is built on the idea of like the type of courses that you teach. Um, like with thesis, a lot of times they already have a built-in idea, or they understand how to sort of make their own story
Yeah.
without a lot of oversight. But I'm wondering what those sort of fundamental courses.
Um, you mean like that they don't do the thing I tell them to do
Because
because
they're afraid it's
that was
your
my
idea.
idea? Because
Yeah,
that was my idea?
yeah.
No, I don't get that.
Huh.
I feel like feel like I mean, a lot of times they just don't do what I tell them to do because they think because they don't like my idea or because they
Yeah.
think, it's just not what they wanted.
They think they're
Or
better than you. Is that what you're saying?
maybe. Or a lot of times they do what I tell them to do. And it's great.
And then it's
And
perfect.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, yeah. Uh,
You really nailed this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
With my, with the design students that are earlier in their careers, I feel like they take my advice.
Yeah.
And also because with design, there's so many technical things,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just, and it's all about functionality and things need to be able to be read
Yeah.
and contrast needs to be, good contrast because you just cannot read that thing that we need to read.
Pre-press is pre-press no matter what the subject matter is, and you got to
Yeah,
do it this way because that's how it works.
yeah.
Is there so going back to sort of bookmaking and the challenges, and I asked you earlier, what is the challenging thing, but I'm going to ask
Mm-hmm.
you what is, and this is, I want you to brag here for a minute. I don't want you to be shy of any sort.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you just like so much better at than everybody else?
I. Oi. Oh.
Is that too tough a question?
Yeah.
Okay, I shouldn't say better than everybody else. What's one thing that you do that you think you excel at, or that you're like the most proud of?
I think I'm good with economy, visual economy,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, not trying to getting things to the not, I don't know if the bare minimum, but just have enough that the idea is there, and same with the words too. I think I don't know if I excel at it, but I think I try to have the right amount of words and the right amount of stuff in the image, just
Yeah.
enough. So the
The
things,
economy
yeah,
of I don't know. Again, that efficiency or that like.
yeah, visual economy. I like that. I like that. I've always liked minimalism in that way.
It is a super skill. I don't have that skill. I have the problem of I
Mm.
mean, I'm trying to train myself to be more economical with what I do, especially when it comes to word count.
Yeah,
Uh, I am too wordy. But
yeah,
um, the even the images, I tend to just keep adding and adding to a point where not necessarily like
yeah.
images are the most cluttered things in the world, but they definitely could use a haircut.
Do
And
you end up trimming after?
um, I mean, when I write, I definitely like. I spend a majority of my time writing, editing.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a
Mm-hmm.
majority of my time making corrections on things that I did when it comes to artwork. And so like
Yeah,
I put a lot of stuff in and I go back and look and go like, oh, I didn't really need all that. And so like I can sort of, a little Photoshop here, a little Photoshop there, and get
yeah,
rid of stuff. I think the harder problem for me is just knowing when to stop, of, when to call it
yeah,
quit today.
yeah.
And some people have that skill, some people don't. And I think I push that boundary sometimes a little too far. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Whether other people think I went too far is a different story. But I
Yeah,
definitely think for myself that sometimes I go a little too far and put too much in, or it gets a little too cluttered, or, I lose control of the image
yeah,
in some shape or form. Um, do you go out and do book readings and things of the sort with the books?
yeah,
Is that
yeah.
is that a fun experience? Is that a
Um, Sometimes I think I think I'm better talking to adults um, than I am to children, and maybe I just feel more comfortable. I think that's the thing, because I have friends that have told me that I'm fine with the children,
yeah?
uh, but I think I just feel more comfortable because you know what it's easier to know what to expect. With kids it's always unpredictable. um
Are you no way?
yeah,
It's
I find them intimidating, very intimidating. um and I don't have children, so I think that's why I don't see children that often.
Just come out of left field at you. Have they given you any weird questions or challenges along the way?
Well, there was one time where the one kid, I was about to read my book, and the kid was like, I was like, oh, so this is my book, and he was like, I don't think that's your book. I don't think you made those drawings. And I have to say that we had done a drawing game before the reading, and
yet
I
still,
clearly, my drawings were not great because also I'm not great at drawing in the moment.
Okay.
I get nervous and I don't, I mean, I'm doing this because it's shape right here. So I don't trust my line drawing. And I think that's in part why I like doing this. I end up working like this. So when you're in a book event, a lot of kids love when you draw.
Yeah.
They love it. So I don't. And I had to draw, and my drawings didn't look great. And so I think when I was about to read the book, and I was like, "This is my book. I illustrated this book." The kid was like, "There's no way."
That book looks so professional, and yet you put out the junk in front of us. Yeah.
I was like, I don't think you drew that. And I was like, I did.
I feel like the worst drawings I've ever done have been at those events because there is the pressure to like perform and make a good drawing, but you're also trying to like keep an eye on time, and you're trying to like make something fun for them, but it's not always like you can't take the time to be precious of any sort with it. So the kids don't know because it's far back most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can't see the details, but I'm like, ooh, this stuff is rough right from the get-go. I love the idea of that you didn't make it. Did you challenge me and say like I sure did, and who do you think you are?
I was like, my name is here, and he was like, there could be someone else with your name.
How old was this kid?
I have no idea. I would say 6.
Okay. So you could take him in a fight if you had to. Yeah. You pound him into oblivion. That's as long as that's there, and you can beat the kid up. Then then you're good. If he's going to come up to you afterwards and challenge you, then that's a different story. You know what? Joking about beating up kids. That's classic great storytelling ventures here. Is there when you do those events? I mean, obviously you're writing the books, but do you feel like it's easier for you to do the reading, like to discuss the reading side or to discuss the art side? Not necessarily drawing, but just to discuss.
No, I like talking about the art and discussing it. I like doing that. I don't love reading my own books, because I feel like I started thinking about how, I'm like self-conscious about some things, and then I'm like, oh, I should have changed that word.
Like in the middle of the reading.
No, not in the middle, but it's like it's like when you hear your voice in a recording, and it's cringy. So there's some aspect of reading my book that I don't enjoy it. It's a little I feel self-conscious.
I've gotten to the point where I've done enough books, and this isn't meant to be a brag, but I've done enough books that I don't remember every single word of every single book. So like the first time a book came out and I did a reading, I know I was probably way more on because I knew every word. I knew when I flipped the page, exactly what it's going to say. And then now I'm at a point where it's like, oh, I'll read this old book that I have. And I
Yeah.
start to read through it and I mess up the words. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm immediately going, they're questioning whether I actually did this or not.
Yeah.
Or
The exact same thing happened to me in that same event. After that kid said that I hadn't written, that I hadn't drawn those drawings,
yeah.
I started reading my book and I was reading it wrong. And there was this kid in front that was correcting me. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
You went to a tough school. Like, it wouldn't let you slide on any of it.
No, yeah, but is that thing, I feel like when I'm talking about the work, I don't feel
Yeah.
self-conscious. But then when I read the book, that's when I'm like kind of overthinking a little bit, and in my head, I get in my head.
No, that's I totally get it. I'm the same way where it's just like
Yeah.
I should not I shouldn't have any confidence issues in that because, you know, it's like, and this is going to sound awful, but like, who are these little kids to challenge me? But like, it is scary to be up there sometimes and have a sea of faces looking at you. And I don't know if you have the same issue that I do, but like going through school, I was a very shy student.
Yeah.
And I was not one to spend my time being outwardly social.
Yeah.
That's all changed now. I'm like, I don't have as much of a problem with it, except for in those moments where all of a sudden all my fear of being judged comes rushing back to me.
Yeah.
In that moment of, and it's I know that that's probably not even an issue whatsoever. The thing that's scarier to me is honestly the teachers that are sitting on the
Yeah.
side, but
Or
I
the
don't.
parents.
Yeah, or the parents, but you know, in reality, most of them are probably just like checking out. It's their one
The
opportunity
kids.
to hop on their phone
Yeah.
and be like, I don't have to pay attention to my kid. They're being entertained.
Yeah, they're grateful.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
there.
They're like, as long as I don't have to do it, I am good.
Yeah.
Is there when you put out the books, now obviously like some of the books are for adults and some of the books are for kids, but is there a sense of marketing that you think is different in those, like when you go out and try to pitch it to people, or, you know, even in the reading, do you treat it differently for different?
If it's for adults and if there is
Yeah,
for oh, of course, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
obviously like the content is different, but like do you go and like try to, do you sell yourself differently of like, I can go out and do readings of this book in a different way, or do you treat it with a different mentality, beyond just how do I want to put this, like beyond just the content is different. It's maybe I'm asking a dumb question. I might be asking a dumb question. What I'm trying to hit at is the idea of like, for Kidlit, there is a very big push on getting out to book events. There's a big push on like educational value and going to schools and things of the sort. But then the adult books, you know, you don't have that resource of schools to rely on, or you know, you don't perform in the same way for an adult as you do for a kid. So does the marketing change or your approach to it change?
Yeah, I think I think my approach changes definitely because I know that the kids, you have to really entertain and perform. So I feel like that's where I really am trying to test out different things or think of activities, because you sometimes have to come up with an activity. So this, for example, this workshop that what I'm using right now, it was for I made this for an event, a book event, and then we had to do an activity. So that's great because now I can I know it worked well, so I know that I can pitch that when I'm when I'm trying to get a book event.
Okay.
And for adults, I think, I mean, I really like doing events for adults.
How so? Like, what's the, because I've never done a book event for an adult. I don't do smart books. I only do dumb books.
No, well, it's a conversation. So it's like right now,
Okay.
what we're doing right now. You just talk more about the origin of the book or how you came up with the idea for the book, and a little bit of the behind the scenes of the book, which is something you can also do for maybe for kids, but you can go deeper
Okay.
with the adult audience, and I like that.
Yeah, you don't have to explain as much with I mean, I find, and I don't know if it's the same thing for you, I actually like working with adults more, just because I'm in an environment every day where I'm working with, college age students. And so
Yeah.
I'm used to like speaking on terms of, I'll go into like a book event and I'll start saying, well, the publisher was asking this, or the art director, and I have realized these kids have no idea when I say publisher what that means, because sometimes some of them think I actually make the physical books.
Yeah.
They're like, no, that's not me, that's someone else.
Yeah.
Or when I say art director, they have no idea what a director is, let alone an art director, or what a editor is. And so I have to check myself on a regular basis to make sure I'm like playing in the same ballpark as the rest of the audience.
Yeah.
What are your hopes and dreams for your career?
Hopes and dreams.
Big question. Big question.
More books. I think I just want to make more books, because I have more ideas. So
Do you have stuff out on submission right now?
no.
No? Okay.
But I'm trying.
Yeah. Do you this is a question that I definitely am challenged with myself, but do you enjoy the writing process? Or is that like foreign to you just because you grew up in a world of art?
The writing can be for me painful, but yeah, a lot of times it's painful because I want it to be good, and obviously it's never good the first time.
Yeah.
It gets good, but that's the part where sometimes I'm like, oh, I freeze a little bit because I freeze, and I'm not playful. I'm not playful with the writing. I don't see it as playing, and I should see it as playing. But then sometimes I can hit a place when I start having fun with it, but it's rare.
Did you study writing at all while you were in school?
No. Mm-mm.
And so obviously, I mean, you've been writing most of the books that you have. Have you worked on? In fact, I don't know. Have you worked on any books that were not written by you?
I did illustrate young adult.
Okay.
Novel, but it was not an illustrated one, so it was an interesting project. It was it was a young it was a novel, and I did chapter openers, and I illustrated one. It was a collection of short stories, so I illustrated each story with one image.
Yeah, sort of
mm-hmm.
Chapter heads or plates or things of the sort.
Yeah. Yeah, I in the SVA program we did have a creative writing class. So yeah.
But you never took it.
No, I did.
Oh,
I
you
did.
did. Okay.
I
Okay.
did. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And yeah.
it's just such a like for a lot of artists, unless they have that like opportunity to play in a world with with words, it can be super challenging or uh, twice the effort that the art making is. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I fall prey to that quite frequently of um, ask me to draw something, I have no hesitation. Ask me to write something, and I'm gonna hem and haw for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
You're not supposed to ask me tough questions. No, I think just because I, it's a what's in my head versus what's on paper, and so the equivalent of like, I don't know if you mentioned that idea of like painting was challenging for you, and I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I could imagine that the vision you had in your head did not come out of your hands and onto the paper every single time, and
No.
yeah, and so for me, the writing is the same way, wherein what I hear in my head, I'm like, oh, this is the beats, and it's gonna be so funny, and I'm gonna get this down on paper, and everybody's gonna understand the accent that this person's speaking with because it'll make the joke so much funnier, or not accent, but like the cadence in which they speak, the tone and the rhythm,
Yeah.
and then I write it down and I go, ugh, it's not there. It's it's missing all the stuff that I thought I heard in my head, and then it's problematic at best, or it's not what I envisioned or I could hear.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really struggle with the writing side,
Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be painful.
Do you regularly write? Like, do you have a system in which you write? I mean, you mentioned the idea of like watching TV because you don't always want to make artwork. Is there the same pleasure / pain element when it comes to the writing side?
Yeah, I can do I try to I mean I don't that's the thing. It's like I have a hard time being constant. But I try to have a little bit of a writing practice and just do a little bit of journaling.
Okay.
And that's a good way for me sometimes to just start my workday. Just doing like a half an hour or 50, even if it's 15-minute writing uh, exercise or journaling.
Yeah. So it's not
Um,
necessarily a story every time. It's just
no,
writing.
it's just writing,
Gotcha.
and and most of the times I don't ever read those things again. So they live in a binder or my
Okay.
sketchbooks, and sometimes I revisit them because a lot of times their sketches intertwined, which is part of what I do. It is because a lot of times within the writing, then I start thinking about ideas, or I get an idea, or I'm like, oh, this something will come up there that I can use it.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, sometimes again I need to force myself to do it because most of the time I'd rather be doing something else.
So let me ask you a question about that, because I mean, I have people on here all the time and we talk about like the joys of kidlit and we talk about the challenges and whatnot, but oftentimes there's not the hard truth of the matter of there is a sense from me at least of trying to like say how wonderful it all is and why everybody should be doing it, but then I turn around and I go, I don't want to do this tomorrow. I don't want to be doing this thing.
Yeah.
And I hide some of that potentially from said audience.
Yeah.
Do you you find that the work that you do is how do I want to put this? Like not always rewarding?
I know, I mean, it's always rewarding, but sometimes the process and getting to the reward, it's a little, can be painful.
Okay.
But it's always rewarding, and I mean, I feel very lucky that I get to do this. I think it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's, yeah, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful, and I love it. I love it, and I love stories, and that's what I want to make. But sometimes, like with any job, sometimes it can be difficult, and sometimes I think the part that most of the time makes it hard for me is just that voice that is telling me like, it's not good enough, or it's not working, um, you're a fraud.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
do you have imposter syndrome?
yeah,
Do you
I
have it
mean, yeah,
do you have it bad? Or
no,
is it
I mean, I think it's normal. I think everyone
yeah.
has it. I think I think it's like completely normal and human. And I don't know anyone that doesn't have
Yeah.
it.
Every artist
Um,
has it, and I agree. I think like I don't care how good of an artist you are, more than likely you have some form of imposter syndrome, but it's a matter of some people have it where it's crippling, where they
yeah,
don't want to work, or they don't, they don't know how to get out of that funk,
yeah,
or how to uh, you know get around that hurdle, what have you.
yeah,
um, have you ever had artist block?
yeah, yeah. I feel like with every project I've had the the dark cloud at some point.
The
Like,
dark cloud of despair that hangs over
oh,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's just also it's part of the process, and you just have to get through it. It's like a puddle, like a black puddle, and you just have to like swim in it a little bit, and then you eventually get to the other side.
So
And
how
yeah,
do you get like without I love the metaphor of like the puddle and swimming to the other side, but on a technical level, how do you get yourself through that? How do you get yourself out of a funk? Are there
hmm,
things that you can do, um, project wise,
yep,
or things to sort of release that tension so you're back in the ball game of sorts?
yeah. There are many things one can do, and that I do. One, I mean, I think, and I've talked to this with friends, and that we do the same. I mean, just keep trying, show up. Yeah, keep trying, show up every day, or as much as you are able to show up, and just try, even if it's like doing a tiny doodle or writing a sentence, but something. Um, then another thing that I do that I think is helpful is talking to other people who are doing the same and showing them what you're trying to do and get their feedback. And just the act of talking about the project,
Can get
I feel
you out of it.
like
Yeah.
a lot of times it kind of like reveals the
Yeah.
questions, the answers. It kind of like, yeah, as you're talking about it, you're like, your brain is figuring out the answers that you're looking for.
I
Um,
love seeing that when it happens in the classroom where someone
yeah,
comes up to me and they're like,
exactly.
I have to ask you, how do you do? Oh, never mind. I figured it out. And then
Yeah,
they just walk back.
yeah, or they are saying what they're struggling
Yeah.
with, and then there's the other classmate suggesting something, and they're like, oh, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So they came up with the solution.
Yep.
So that's something that's super helpful, I think.
And then I wonder, and you know, the artist funk, and we get into it at various times, and we can get back out of it. But are there certain things that sort of trigger that kind of? I will warn you. When I should have warned you this a long time ago, but during these nights, there's a lot of like, I feel like therapy session that happens with some of the questions that I ask. But like, is there something like, for me, when I have writer's block or I have artist block or what have you, there are certain things that are generally the the start of that, and some of that is literally I just don't have an assignment to go on, like just free floating. I don't have the desire to go down in the studio. I don't have this like this artistic need to somehow express myself. And so like I find ways to create projects that force me, or there's a deadline comes up, and then all of a sudden it's like I just got to make. I don't have a choice. But are there times or things that sort of instigate that, like the artist block for you?
That get me into the funk.
So the other end of the spectrum of there's things that get you out of it. Are there things that you can sort of pinpoint that you go like that's what got me into it instead?
Sometimes, a lot of times, looking at other people's work on Instagram, and then I'm like, oh, I wish I was making, that my work looked more like that, or that. And everyone on Instagram is doing so well.
Yeah, everybody has a pretty little studio, and like.
And you're seeing everybody's best lives on Instagram. So I don't think that's healthy for me. And that can get me in the funk, especially when things are not working well or not coming out easily. And then my impulse, when you're trying to work and you get the smallest hurdle, or you get a little bit stuck with anything, my impulse is open Instagram, or just distract myself with something, and the easiest thing to do is open Instagram. So then I go in there already feeling stuck or feeling frustrated. And then you have this stream of amazing stuff. So it's like a really bad combination.
Double whammy. You get it from every direction. Do you are you someone who like I am someone who I have Instagram. I use Instagram. I look through it periodically, but I also don't use it for artistic. Like, it's gonna sound bad because here I am like touting all these different artists and illustrators and whatnot, but most of the research and influence that I get is from hard copy books. And some of that is just my like mentality of like, oh, it's actually been published, and so there's something here that works that I need to study. But that doesn't mean I don't fall prey to the rabbit hole of Instagram or any of the social media things. But I will look at art, but I will look at it for a very limited amount of time on Instagram. So it's not my it's not the majority of the stuff I look at. Most of the time I'm on there looking at dumb memes like everybody else, and trying to find something that makes me laugh instead. And again, I don't know if that's because I'm also looking at art every day for a job, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want it to be my every waking moment. I don't know where or why I make that decision, but I actively just don't look at much on
Yeah,
Instagram that's art related.
yeah, yeah. I tried that too. Yeah. In fact, sometimes I I purposefully don't follow the people I really like their work
Interesting.
because
I like that.
yeah, because I can't deal with it. I cannot deal with the envy sometimes, and it's weird too. It's a weird thing. So yeah, I also try to stay away from it as much as possible. But the thing is, like, when I get stuck, it's so easy to go there and just
Yeah.
spend time just flies, and you're it's like it sucks you
Is
in.
there now, speaking of, like, okay, they may not be people that you follow on Instagram, but who are the heroes? Like, can you, obviously there's illustrators that are contemporary, there's designers that are contemporary that you're looking at, but are there people that you grew up with that you're like, this is the person that I wish more people knew about, or that were so influential on you that don't necessarily have to be current day? They can be, but are there people that you sort of gravitate back towards on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned Edward Gorey,
Okay.
and I go back to Edward Gorey a lot because yeah, I love the economy of language there, and the economy of the elements in the image is the bare minimum. So I go and look at Edward Gorey a lot. And the other thing that I remember, with one of my books, I was stuck because I was trying to to make complicated scenes, like with perspective. And then I started looking at Edward Gorey, and I realized that all the images are like full frontal.
Mm.
There's no there's no complicated angles. And that really freed me in a way. I was like, oh, I just can't do it. I can do it like that. And it was great.
I have
Who
a dumb question for
else?
you, and bear with me because I should know this as an illustration teacher. Edward Gorey is no longer with us, correct?
No,
When did he pass away? Or, like, when was he around?
he passed away not that long ago, I don't think.
Okay, that's
Maybe like, I don't know, 2000. I don't know.
it, the,
There's a new book. I don't know if you've seen it. It's beautiful. I can grab it and show it.
of his work.
Of Edward Gorey, written by Matthew Burgess and
Oh yeah,
illustrated by
the one.
Majeski.
I know the one. The
Yeah,
the reason why I asked that is not because, I mean, partially because I'm an idiot, but also there was something about Edward Gorey's aesthetic that when I first saw it, I always assumed it was from like the 1800s.
no,
And I know it's not. I know that, like, it's more modern than that, but there's something about it that feels old world to me, or like weird turn of the century kind of like vibe to it. And part of it is like the way that the characters are dressed, and
yeah,
I
because
think that
it looks also look like etchings.
yeah. There's
His
some
illustrations.
there's probably, yeah, definitely more than one thing that does that, but I just have always assumed for a majority of my life that, like, oh yeah, that was there's nothing new from Edward Gorey. It's the same old kind of thing. And then I found out, I forget what year it was, that I found out, like, way too late in life, that he's much more modern than what I
Yeah,
remember, or what I assumed, rather. Um,
yeah,
it's similar to, like, this is gonna sound dumb too, but like Lemony Snicket, in my mind
was
was
ancient.
was ancient,
Yeah, Yeah.
this old man, and then you see a picture and you're like, oh no, he's like my age.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened? So
No, I think Edward Gorey was more contemporary of Maurice Sendak.
yeah, okay.
So that
Early, but not as early as I was thinking.
yeah.
Are there people that are current that you're like, this is the superstar?
Let me think. There are many. I mean, there's so many good illustrators.
Or better yet, who, not necessarily who is the best, but who have you looked at recently that you're like, oh, this is really great?
I was gonna be like, I need my phone, and then I realized that my phone is.
This is all from your head. You are not allowed that device.
Let me think. Oh, yes. I might be saying the wrong name. Manuel Marsol, I think that's his name. Can I step
Yeah.
step into the next room for a minute?
A book rescue? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it. I'll talk to everybody else. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay? This is a question that I always love because it's generally folks that, like, I know one or two people, and then all of a sudden I find someone that I'm like, I've never heard of before. I'm talking. I know you're back. I'm talking to the audience about how wonderful it is to hear different artists talk about their faves.
I'm showing this guy this book. Yeah, his name is Manuel Marsol, and I found this book at the Bologna book fair last year.
Nice. What's the title of it?
It's in Spanish, and the title is "The Legend of the Don Fermin." This guy, and he's in a horse. And the book is great. It's about this guy that he was last seen riding his horse, but then no one sees him again. So they have theories about what happened to him.
Okay.
Yeah. And
what did you think of the Bologna book fair?
I'm just gonna show this image.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Great. It was the first time I went, and it was incredible, but it was very overwhelming. And it was, yeah, the work, the quality of the work is incredible. So much talent, so it can get to you, know, where you're like, oh God,
like scary.
But it was wonderful.
How do
scary.
you keep up with everybody else?
Yeah, but at the same time, super inspiring. And it was fun. Yeah, there were a lot of friends there, so it was fun.
Did you just go on your own, or was it part of a book deal?
No, I went on my own, and I knew there were gonna be friends going, so it was good in that way.
I would love to go to that. I have not been.
Yeah.
And everything that I see that comes out of it, I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. And this is a blanket statement that is a little too broad, but I tend to lean more towards European picture books, just aesthetically and design wise, I think, in a sense, than American. It doesn't mean that American stuff is bad. It's just, it's like the little things that I like tend to show up more in a lot of publishers over there. And so like seeing the Bologna book fair, I'm like, oh, I want to go just to see sneak peeks of things that we don't get in the States.
Yeah,
And
you
like
should get.
those kinds of things. So, but I don't have friends over there, so I can't go.
No, but you have friends in the US that will probably go.
You're making an assumption that I have friends, first of all.
You do have friends.
I see there's someone named The Funyuns that says, I love your work. Is there a name for this style of art? And I'm not sure if they're talking about yours or mine, but I'm going to ask you in particular, how how do you define what you do? Is there a name for it that you would sort of sum it up under?
The style of yeah, I would say printmaking.
Yeah.
Block
But I would
printing. This is block printing.
is there a like, well, how do I put this? Printmaking and block printing and things of that sort are like the typical terms, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but like, is there some, like, I refer to my stuff as drawing with scissors, and it's like
drawing with shapes.
Drawing with shapes. Okay, this I was like, I wonder what like your wording, like, is there some strange interpretation that you would have that would, yeah, drawing with shapes. Does I'm trying to think if there's like ways that I would phrase it, like shape stacking. I don't know. I feel like there's some phrase.
Shape building.
My agency at one point, I was trying to describe what I do, and I used to refer to my work as naive. And I don't know as naive as because there is a sophistication that's built into it, but not super sophisticated, but there is some. And so I was trying to figure out how to say it, and then my agency put on some paperwork that my work is warmly off kilter.
Oh.
And I really liked that combination of words. I was like, oh, that works. I like that. And so, like, you know, warmly off kilter collage or something of that sort.
Nice.
Have you ever had someone describe your work to you, or like tell you that sort of, this is what I see in your stuff?
Well, no, not that good.
Oh, no.
Not as good as your
the warmly off kilter.
Yeah. No, but a lot of people describe my work as geometric.
Okay, I can see that.
So I think that's true. It uses it's anchored in geometric shapes. And yeah, I don't know.
How? Okay, wait.
And the texture.
Texture, yeah, like the texture. So here's a question for you that I want to sort of pose, and I don't know as I have the answer. I don't know if you have the answer. So there's this idea of like when to stop a piece of artwork, when it's done, and that's a challenging thing. It's very subjective. It's not tied to a specific, like, no one can go, this is universal to everybody. But beyond when a piece is done, I look at it right now, and like the figure that you're drawing, there's the 3 mounds on the top of head of hair. There's 3 blue ones. And there's one that has a little like negative space that happens on it. And clearly, like, some of this is out of your control. You're doing a stamp and you pick it up and you get what you get sometimes. But you could also like go and push it back down a little harder.
Yeah.
And try to get that area. But clearly you made a decision to not do that. And I'm wondering, like, where does your thought process come in of like when to let that be, and when do you let those mistakes, or I shouldn't say mistakes, but the irregularity or the uncontrollable happen in your work?
Yeah, that's really hard, because a lot of times I go over it because it didn't come out perfect. But then when I go over it, I make it worse.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, I mean, that's why I like this type of medium, because you have to give up control, and that's part of the charm. I think that's part of the charm. And then some decision, and that's why I love working with shapes, because there's limitation. I love working with limits, either in the shapes or the color, because when you have so many options and all the options are available, it's so difficult to decide. So I think it's just it's great being able to just give up a little bit of control and just embracing the imperfections,
Yeah.
and being like, that's actually what makes the stuff interesting. If you and that's sometimes what I feel like with my work. I can get very obsessed about, for example, about a circle being a perfect circle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spend a lot of time making sure that shape is a perfect circle. But when you carve, you have to give up that perfection. It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I think I like when things are a little wonky, and then things are rough.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if someone asked me, because I was doing some cleanup on a piece the other day in Photoshop, and because I'm working traditionally, and I assume the same happens to you, I go and I put it in the Photoshop, and I see all these little, like in my case, because I'm dealing with a glue stick, there's like little shiny patches, or there's a little hair that's stuck to the piece. And some of those are pretty obvious. This little spot
shouldn't be there.
Shouldn't be there. But there's a lot of things that I intentionally love that do show up, where it's like, a little shadow, or like I have this, not that you have to look at this, but there's a little edge here of yellow, and there's like a little dark spot on it that I could have cut away, but I put in there intentionally. And it becomes a question in my mind of, like, I had back in the day, I had a couple of interns through school that were helping me with the project, and I had to explain to them, like, I need you to Photoshop out all these bits and pieces that show up in the work. And one of them came in and they barely touched any of it. They didn't clean up a lot of the spots. And the other one cleaned up every single little spot that was there. And clearly it needed to be somewhere in the middle, but I couldn't define it for them. And so I wonder, like, have you ever had an intern, or have you ever had to explain that, like, that, how do you know? How do you stop?
It's really difficult. I feel like it's experience a lot of times, and intuition. I think, like, for example, right now, I'm like, I don't think I can do anything else to this person, so I think I'm done.
You don't want to kill it,
like,
in the process.
There's not much I can add, so I think it's done. So there's that, but then there's also just, I mean, there's the obvious one, which is like, is it clear?
Okay.
Or does it need something else to make it clear?
Solve the problem that's presented some way.
And then you can, that's the beauty of finishing things digitally for me. because you can overdo it and then digitally, remove or add or edit. And that's it removes the
your finished product is not the
and yeah,
print, or not the block print, but it's the next stage after the fact.
yeah.
Do you
So I really like people like you. I really respect and admire because you guys are fearless. Like you're able to produce an original piece of art, and you have to accept it. And I'm terrified of that.
see?
That's yeah.
But I almost come the other direction back at you and go, I'm terrified of, like, I can sit here and this is gonna sound weird, I think, but like I can have all these mistakes in my work and go, you know what? That's just because I traditionally did it and there's no digital touch up, or there's very little digital touch up. But then I look and I go, I'm fearful of the computer because I know that I would not be able to stop myself. It's too addictive to be able to go in there and like even when I go clean up those spots, I realized the other day I was like, I got in and I started zooming in to get rid of all the little spots I didn't like. And I
Yeah.
was zooming into a point where you would never ever see it in a print, and yet
Yeah.
I'm spending an hour, or whatever, however long it was. It was a good chunk of time going through and adjusting these little spots. That was completely frivolous. And I look at people who do digital artwork and like, I don't understand how to stop or how to control myself in that environment. And so I have almost the opposite reaction where I look at like the stuff that you do and other people do that is on a screen, or like ends up doing some of the technical sort of touch up after the fact, and go, I could never do that. I just like, I don't have that restraint of some sort. But it's the grass is always greener on the other side, except in this case, I don't know if it's that same sentiment, but there's like this, our viewpoint alters or changes our perception of what we're actually like, what we're experiencing and what we think other people are going through. Because I imagine you're not sitting there going like, oh, it's so great that I can control all these little details in my work. Or at least not in the way that my brain is telling me that you're saying on a regular basis. What kind of projects do you have lined up in the future? Oh, are you there? Is that my end? Cecilia, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I
Can
can
you
hear
hear me
you now. I can hear you
Yeah.
now. Okay.
Projects lined up. I have two books, one that are both coming out in 2027. So I'm gonna have to start working on those projects
Are they
next year.
picture books, or are they for adults?
They are picture books. They are picture books. And one, I didn't write it myself, so it's gonna be really my first picture book.
You're gonna have to answer to
written.
someone else.
Yeah.
Get ready for the most mean person in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody is so like loving. No one's mean in this industry. So like, no matter what you do, they're gonna go, I love it.
Great.
But it is an interesting thing. Like, one of the things that I find, because I've done a lot of other people's books, there is a like freedom to not have to worry about the wordsmithing as you go along. You already have something set in stone that you don't even have to think about in the process.
Yeah, I'm excited to just focus on the images.
Have you seen the manuscript already?
I have.
Okay. Did you I forget who it was that, I think it may have been Shamar Knight Justice, who said that he was told, or maybe he came up with this, I think it was him, maybe it was someone else, that if you don't see a vision of the images when you read the manuscript, that it's probably not the best project for you. Did you see images right away when you read through it?
I did, because they were images.
Wait, what?
The writer that did little bits of thumbnails, drawings, and it was great because I could actually see it in my style. So I was like, oh yeah, this is a good fit for me.
Yeah, so it was already kind of built
Yeah.
in a way. Now, do you have to stick to those thumbnails of any sort, or do you have to
No,
play?
I don't. I don't have to stick to those. Yeah.
That's
Um.
that would be scary. I don't think I could work on a project where I had to like follow someone else's thumbnails. Not that I don't think that ever really happens,
No,
but
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know.
that'd be very
Yeah.
hard. I don't want
Yeah.
to live by the man's rules. I want to play my own game.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna work on a book that is mine that I wrote. So that's coming, but the books come out until 2027, which feels like so far away.
But let me.
It's so far away.
I mean, that is like the next book I'm working on. Yeah, it doesn't come out until I think the end of 26, maybe 27, somewhere in there. And yeah, it feels like it's I'm not sure when I'm going to actually be able to like actually see the print. I mean, of course, I haven't even started the thing, so like there's plenty of time to. There's so much stuff in between, but what was I gonna ask? I was gonna ask something specific. Oh shoot, the books. What you have next? Oh man, I just lost it.
It's okay.
I know, but I'm worried that my brain is breaking. It's late in the semesters, and so I'm falling apart, I guess. Do you with the books that you're working on or will be working on? Do you have a certain time of like day? Like you said that you write at the beginning of the morning, and then or journal and whatnot. But are you a night owl or are you a day owl, or what the opposite of a night?
No, night owl and morning person. I don't know. I think I'm more of a night owl. But I'm becoming less of a night owl. I cannot. I can stay awake just doing nothing
Okay.
until very late. Like I can start reading or just doing nothing.
How late are you?
Looking at my phone. Midnight. Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming up on it eventually here. Late night for me is like 2 or 3 in the morning.
No, that's too late for me. That's really late. Yeah.
That's problematic for you. You don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because then I wake up very late. I love sleeping. It's one of my favorite activities. It really is. So, and I can go for a long time.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You can go like you can sleep for a long time.
I can sleep for a long time.
Well, what does that mean? How many hours are we talking?
No, I mean if I wake up because otherwise I feel guilty. So
Yeah.
I try to wake up. I mean, the thing I do that gets me out of bed is I sign up for a class, like exercise, and then because I paid for it, I have to go. So I have to get up, and so that gets me out of bed. So for example, I went to a 6:30 a.m. class today, which is not something. It's not something I would normally do, but I did.
Yeah.
And then I can start my day earlier, and try to get stuff done, because otherwise I could sleep. I could, wake up at 10 if no one if I don't wake myself up, of my husband gets up, so I would keep going.
Is your husband in the arts?
Yeah, I met him at SVA.
What does he do?
Well, we have the exact same background, so we're both graphic designers, and then we did the masters in illustration. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But he works more as a graphic designer in the advertising industry.
Okay. Is
But he also does illustration. So he does, yeah,
now
he does a lot of
can you
illustration.
give a little plug for like does he have a website?
Yeah, Philip Cheney. I can show, yeah, Philip, he's he's
How
he's
do
very
how do you
talented.
spell the last
Uh,
name?
um, Cheaney.
Okay. You spell I know you were spelling it out probably slow for me. But the
Me.
way that you spelled it out slow it made me go, do you know how to spell it? Because it sounded like you were like trying to remember how to spell his name.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's because I'm not a native speaker, so spelling is one of the hardest things for me to
oh,
do.
interesting. Okay.
I have to go very slow, and when even harder to have someone spell something out for me. If you spell something out, I cannot grasp it. I'm like, what? E? So it has to be very slow,
Interesting.
and I
Okay.
have to really concentrate.
It's-
So yeah, Philip Cheney. Yeah, he does illustration. He does a lot of sculpture, little sculptures. I can show one really very cute thing he made.
I'd love to see it.
He made. Oh, this is great. He made this monster truck. I don't know if you can see it.
Is that wood?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's super dusty, but and he made this lighthouse and boat for me.
Oh, those are cool. I like those. Again, like super efficient shape design.
Yeah.
Is that how you fell in love? Was what?
Through shape.
Yeah.
No,
You both
I
were
mean,
admiring a square, and you're like, oh, this is he's my dreamboat. He likes squares too.
he does more line work actually. It's just his little sculptures are, and these ones in particular are a little more shape based. Yeah. But he's a drawer. He's a very good drawer. He can draw from his head, which is something I cannot do.
What do you mean? You're drawing from your head, aren't you? Didn't you just draw from your head tonight?
Yeah, but that was, I mean, was that drawing? Was that drawing from my head?
I guess it's. Are you saying he's like a good like realist?
Not realist, but if you tell him, Philip, draw a rat, carrying playing the violin.
Yeah.
He can do it.
I guess I look at the stuff that you did tonight and I don't see like, yeah, your work isn't like line based, but I don't know, you're drawing with shapes. I guess I don't see I mean, I'm not trying to like, you're wrong. How dare you? You're not allowed to say that, but I wouldn't discredit what you're doing.
No, but if I want to draw like a rat playing the violin, I would have to look at an image.
Okay.
Of someone holding a violin, so I know how the fingers.
Yeah, reference wise, you would need a reference to.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I got you there.
Yeah.
I just didn't want you to discredit your stuff and be like,
that
would be sad. Do you teach in the morning tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, I should probably, because what time is it?
We're coming up on 10:30, 11ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I should go because I have a 10 a.m. class, and I need to make food for myself.
Oh, you haven't had dinner yet?
No, for tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I need to make my lunch.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, let me state right off the bat though that I really do appreciate you taking the time. We love, and I say we, not just me, but my wife as well. Really, really love your work and appreciate the like sophistication in all of your work and the voice that you bring to it all of you know the like even reading through the A Gift from Abuela. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. This is a real quick question. This should be is this a story about you?
Oh, it's a story about actually it's a story about my great
Great
grandma.
grandma. Okay. 'Cause
That
I didn't
that
know the money thing. Like to hear that and be like, oh, the struggle of finances for folks, like when all the money basically became worthless.
yeah, that happened to her.
Yeah, that's crazy. So like hearing that and providing that voice and whatnot is so important that I'm super appreciative of you and your work and what you bring to the Kidlit community.
Thank you.
And so I can't say thank you enough for joining me tonight.
No, thank you for the
Yeah.
invitation. I appreciate it. And
Well,
I can barely see what you
oh,
made because
let me. Oh, because your thing's upside down.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll zoom in a little bit.
Oh,
There's
I see.
little.
So nice.
They need hair and things,
Oh
but
my God.
and there's gonna be a little alien up in here, and I'm gonna do some stars. But it's just there. I'm trying to make pieces that are maybe not as complicated. So like it literally is just they're breaking through the clouds and going up in outer space.
How thick is your paper?
What?
How thick are your paper pieces?
It's tracing paper.
Tracing
So
paper.
there is some like some transparency that happens that shows up. I keep forgetting that I can use that more to effect, and so sometimes it gets really opaque. But I do like the idea of like it's what's his name, Eric Carl used to
Yeah.
work on
Yeah.
tissue paper, but tissue paper is I think a little too fragile for my liking,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
Trace Works does the same thing. So
And you paint it?
yeah, I use plain old Liquitex acrylic wash,
Mm,
and I just do thin coats, so like it truly is see-through, or translucent or whatever you want to call it. And so I have just big swatches. So I just make swatches that have different like transitions of color, or you know, like I'm going through and like I even made this tonight. I didn't even use this at all, but just swatches of color.
yeah.
So I pick a palette to play with, and sometimes it's more saturated. I'm going a little bit more sort of desaturated,
Mm.
and trying to build that up. But yeah, it's the same thing you're doing. I'm just doing it with cut paper. You're doing it with stamp, and it's layering and stacking of color.
Yeah.
So,
That's so great.
yeah.
And do you had a sketch?
I did have a sketch. My sketch here. I'll show you the sketch. This
So
is
you
the
just follow.
sketch that I had. So it's not exact of any sort.
You just follow it. Like you look at it and you try to replicate it.
I try to replicate it to a not to a T. I try to get it somewhat close. So like, you know, the figures are going to be a little bit different, but the shape of it here was more round and it's more blocky in this one. And I'm putting in some lines differently. And, you know, I'm making decisions on the fly because the sketch, this does not translate well when I start to cut it out. I intentionally, for anybody that's heard this before, bear with it, but I use these big old scissors so I can't get finite. And so like I can't get the accuracy and like be, you know, super perfect to my sketch.
Yeah.
And to me that's the charm of working with this material in my own like process, or the why I like working on it is because I don't have that ability to control in a perfect manner. So when I make a cut, sometimes it's a little clunky, sometimes it's got a little straight edge to it where it doesn't need to be. You know, those kind of decisions I think are really fun.
So great.
Well, thank you. I'm really, really pleased in watching you work, and I think your piece not only did you add a mustache, but then you added this like flair of it looks like almost a fur coat from my
Yeah,
side, and like at first I was like, where are you going with this? I didn't quite get it, and now I'm like, I love this this either fur coat or fur collar that comes with it. It's so great.
yeah.
And so
Thank-
I really do appreciate it, and go get some rest, make your lunch, and get out there tomorrow and
you.
teach them youth.
You, you too.
Okay, I
Good
will.
luck with the end of the semester.
Okay, you too.
All
All right,
right.
bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
So for those that are tuning in, now's the point of the show where I switch gears. I throw this away, and I only work on stuff that no. What I'm going to do is I am going to continue on this process on making this. I'll try to zoom in a little bit better now that it's down to a single screen. If I can get, ooh, no, what's going on here? I can zoom out. I can zoom in. There we go. As long as I keep it relatively in that range, we should be okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the questions to you all, should you have questions. And please have questions. I know there's people like Teacher Marin who is watching tonight and has questions and things of the sort. And there's folks that may be tuning in that I can't, the way that wait, hold on. Can I do this? No, I guess I can't have the ability to look on the screen that I'm looking on and see who is actually watching. Then I can see all your gross names, all the hubbub of who's actually tuning in. But what I was gonna say is if there's folks that haven't had a chance to ask a question or feel like they want to say something, please do, because it makes the evening not only, I think, more fun for me, but I also venture more fun for the folks who tune in on a regular basis and have to listen to me on a regular basis. So what I'm trying to do, just so everybody understands what I'm sort of getting at here, I'm trying to essentially build this this piece out so it feels more metallic, but I don't want it to be metal. I want it to be sort of I don't know, things. And so I might put little little boxes in and little things. I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. I'll figure it out as I go. If you tap my wife's saying, if you tap the number of viewers or the live icon, it should show you who's watching live. It doesn't, on what I'm looking at here, I'm clicking on it, it doesn't do it. So I don't know I'm not sure what's going on there. But either way, I believe there are people watching. I can see there's a count up at the top that there's people that are tuning in that care to listen. I can feel this already. This lead, there it is, right there. The lead on this pencil is barely hanging in there. This is a peach pencil, and I probably have another one down in there, but Prismacolor. I feel like Prismacolors you have to buy in store. You cannot have them shipped, and even in store, you run the risk. Of, has someone dropped them, or has it been through shipping and been tossed around, and then all of a sudden you get a piece that has or a lead that, I guess not lead, but the pigment of the pencil is loose and falls out and breaks and whatnot. I love Prismacolors, but that's the one thing. Bear Edwards is watching. Hi, Bear Edwards. What's going down in Bear Edward Town? Didn't type that apostrophe? Oh. I think I follow. Okay. So what I need to do is I need, I can use this. This guy works pretty well. Yeah, that'll work. Hey there. Was just drawing and watching. What are you drawing? What you draw? What you draw? just posted a holidazed giraffe. I don't like the word holidazed. It makes, I don't know why, it made me think glazed, like a glazed ham. I don't know why that popped into my head, but I don't want to think of giraffe meat. What is giraffe meat? Do people eat giraffe? Now we're getting into the part of the show where Mark starts asking weird questions. Do people eat giraffe? I mean, I'm assuming they can't. I sound weird because I have a straw in my mouth. I'm assuming you cannot eat giraffe, but there's probably someone out there that has. And that's a question of like, what part of the giraffe? Why did I ask that question? That's a weird question. I don't like that question. I would guess that people eat anything. There's someone that's probably eaten like, I mean, giraffe is probably like the least weird of what people have eaten, but people eat bugs. When I was in China, I remember going down, the dean at the time, now the president of the school, and I were going through a sort of market that was there, and I remember I bought some tofu to eat, and it was okay. I don't know what seasoning was on it. He was like, "Do you know what's on that?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna eat it anyways." And so I ate it. It was okay, but it wasn't the seasoning that I wanted it to be. Like I wanted more garlic in it or something. But on the way down this alleyway, there was a booth, a stand that was selling scorpion on a stick, and I remember just like some stuff like that. I was like, "Oh, this actually is a thing. Like, people eat bugs." I mean, I don't know if that's not technically a bug. I think that's, I don't know. What is a scorpion? Is a scorpion an arachnid, Lauren? I asked my wife because she's smarter than me. She knows this kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to be blunt here. I'm going to be honest. For anybody that knows that I make fun of my wife on here and tease and whatnot, the truth of the matter is, I think my wife actually is smarter than me. I mean, definitely not as handsome, but smarter. Now, could I take her in a foot race? That's also kind of questionable. I don't know if I could. Just like your mom used to make scorpion on a stick. I mean, it may have been absolutely fine. I'm not going to eat it. I don't like the concept of eating. I don't like the concept of bugs just in general. I don't like things that go through a larval state. I'm just willing to like nix those all together. And so I count me out on eating a critter like that. But I don't know. I mean, if it wasn't a bug, I have a feeling like the seasoning and whatnot, probably had some fun stuff going on with it. Let's see. Yes, it's an arachnid. I consider that a bug, even though it's not a class of true bug. Yeah, a bug has 6 legs, right? Does a scorpion go through a larval stage? That's what I want to know. That's the question of the night. Basically, larval stages are gross, and whoever invented that should go to hell. That's my theory. Not just go to hell. They need to. It's not like it should be their choice. I think they need to end up in hell because bugs' larval stages are gross. It goes through an awkward teenage phase where it's like it's just winging its stinger around. Like, Mom and Dad, you can't tell me what to do, and then tries to sting them. Whenever I think of a scorpion, I will forever get giggly because I always think of scorpion and I go to Perry Bible Fellowship. Lauren, you know this one. I'm guessing no on the larval stage. That there's a Perry Bible Fellowship that has people are like a scorpion with zits that has a thing that a group of characters playing touch tail, and one of them touches a scorpion on the tail and then dies, and I think it's very, very funny. Here we go. Scorpion with zits. This is my I have. I don't even know what a scorpion. Just gonna have this. You have some pinchers. We'll have claws here in a second, but ooh, you know what it should be? This should be. These aren't like regular old things. This is like bad teenage mustache he's got there, and then he's got some. It's getting a little pinchers, and then let's give some acne, sort of bleary-eyed, because he stays up too late playing video games. And then he's like, here's all this. And then he has that's a here we go, ready? This is a Mountain Dew that he's got there. And then he's one of those ones with like the mullet that's come back with the undercut. Here's my scorpion. And then he has let's give him some like some braces. And then he's like Fortnite, bruh. Like that. You don't understand me, Dad. Yeah. He's all skibbity toilet. Ohio. That's also what he says. That's my scorpion. I'm so glad that our son does not say skibbity things. Constantly post on Pinstagram. Oof. 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 I liked it better when I didn't know that you were on here because you weren't leaving stuff like that. That was rough. I don't know if I'm willing to accept that. You can do better. That was I need a good. That could probably work. Transitions out to yellow so it fades out to white on the edges. There we go. Maybe a little. Ooh, I don't like that. Let's see if I can blend that out. There we go. A little warm there, and then what I might do is actually come back with this, which should that was gold, Mark. You know it. I know that wasn't gold. How about that? What do you think of that? This is dangerous because what I'm doing is I'm putting acrylic on top of a colored pencil, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And so I'm gonna see. Sometimes it smears. We're gonna cross our fingers that it does not do that. But this is the flame shooting out of this rocket, sending it up into outer space. Whew. I like it. Okay, now there was a skibbity toilet game at Target. Why didn't you get it? Christmas is coming up, Lauren. It's exactly what I wanted. I want a skibbity toilet game. We all know it. There are certain things in this life that need to be procured. Please don't get me a skibbity toilet game. I'm joking, Lauren. Don't do that. Okay, again, for those folks that are watching that are going, what is going on? What are they talking about? This is your opportunity to ask me questions. Any question that you see fit, I'm here to answer. Don't waste this opportunity, people. Don't waste it. You got someone who's like just insanely smart in front of you right now. If you're going to waste it, I can't believe it. Try to put a little hint of the surface that's touching there on the glass. It's so subtle. Most people won't notice, but I will. I recognize my mad pun skills. Wait, are you asking me what skibbity toilet means, Lauren? Because I don't know, but I don't like it. I don't like a lot of that. Isn't there something that's like beta or alpha or something? And skibbity toilet, and then what else? Ohio. What's the butt one? Isn't there a butt one? I know Riz. I know that's one or something, but there's a butt one that's like the person has a good butt, and that's part of it too. But why will I not recognize your mad pun skills? Because puns are the lowest form of comedy. They do not deserve our recognition. They do not deserve our acknowledgement. They do not deserve any sort of value in our society. They should be shunned. Sigma. Oh, GAT. That's it. GAT. I should have known because Lauren's always talking about how I have such a good GAT. I was like, I don't remember what that is. Now I know. I know I have a picture book full of puns. I'm not saying I don't fall prey to puns. It's called I don't know how to write better comedy than puns. That's what that means. I know they're good for kids. I know that much. Get some other tones and textures in here. Let's get this guy up. There we go. Some pinks. Should break up this moon so it's not so flat. Or flat. Oh, I need to draw the hair on those kids too. Okay, what color hair do they have? Sonny. Is this too dark? That's too dark. It's too dark. I think this is, this is the same color. I just want to, I'm going to do a little test. This is called, is that too dark? Then cover that up. Maybe they just need to have like, oh, you know what? You know what they need probably? They probably need that like, that helmet thing that like of color that they wear, and then just a little bit of hair that sticks out. How do I do that? Because I could go in and do black, but then I feel like it's too much black. Gotta cover up where I put that a little bit there. Your mom likes them? Oh, is that a your mom joke? Is that a your mom joke? Okay, let's do some your mama jokes for the rest of the evening. Whoever comes up with the best your mama joke, as judged by me, gets a special prize. It's a consider me Valderrama, whatever that guy's name was from that 70s show that had a show on MTV that was all yo mama jokes. Wilmer? Is that right? Wilmer Valderrama? Something like that? I don't remember what his name was 100%. I think that's what it is, but that was a show of its era right there. A yo mama joke show. Teacher Marin. Wilding Out. It's not Wilding Out, Lauren. I need you to look it up right now. It was Yo Mama show with that guy from that 70s show. Played like, what was it, Fez or something like that? But then it was him, and there would be people that did Yo Mama jokes, and then they would battle each other. And at the end, I forget what they won, but I don't even know if they won anything. Pride. There's some people here that don't even know what I'm talking about. Oh, it's a different show? Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, totally different show. Wild and Out is, what's Nick Cannon's show? Why do I know so much about all this? I shouldn't know this much about it. Your mom is so bad at art, all she can draw is flies. I remember when I did a D&D campaign at school. There was students that wanted to do a little D&D campaign, so I was like, fine, we'll do it. And so I participated, and my character was a bard, which, for anybody that doesn't know, they like use their wit and their language skills to attack people. And so what I did was the guy that was running it said that I should come up with some like jokes and things I can say before the actual day. And of course I didn't do it, except for I did a couple. I found a couple that I was like, I'm gonna do these. And what they were all yo mama jokes. But they were yo mama jokes I don't know as they made any sense. So it was like, your mama's so ugly, she thinks, or no, your mama's so dumb, she thinks dragon from, the Gorlock marsh is blah 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 blah. And it was all like things that I just made up along the lines of what I thought D&D talk was like. And then I don't remember if I used them at all. I don't think I was like smart enough in the moment to sort of pull those out, but it would be funny to just be in the middle of it a D&D campaign and start using Yo Mama jokes in my mind. Let's see. Okay, here's my little alien. A brand new paint pen here that has the ability to do some crazy, crazy mark making. My mama's so dumb. Just to get them wrong the whole time. Jeff Ross of D&D. Lauren, you still haven't figured out what the name of that show is? It probably was called Your Mama, but I need the official title. Yeah, okay, so it was called Your Mama. Wait, Momma? That's wrong. It should be Mama at best. I'm going to go to the MTV headquarters and complain about a show that was on in the early aughts and say, how dare you spell Mama Momma? That's wrong. That doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna do a couple little lines there that apply the back edge of that. And then mom, ma, mom, ma, ma, ma. Wait. I love to me when I can see when I can. These are so great. Oh, well, thank you, Marco Finnegan. Marco Finnegan, do you have any Yo Mama jokes? That's what we're talking about tonight. I'll put some stars out here. Ooh, you know what I might do? I might put the words like kapow down here, or like, not kapow, but like blast off sort of sounds, onomatopoeias. P. Here's a hard part. Make stars out here irregular, so they can't look like a pattern. They can't look too consistent, which is I have to break the natural habit of the hand, which is normally people like start to put them all the same distance from each other. They start to gravitate towards that. But how did you do at what, Lauren? Oh, with your night. Oh, I see it now. Your mama's so nice. She gives us lots of Christmas. Yeah, do the opposite the whole time. Your mama's so smart. She knows how to do her own taxes. Your mama makes the best casserole. That's not even your mama is this because of this. Like your mama is so smart because just her out. Your mama's nice. How about this one? I know your mama. And all the people snap. They're like, oh, can't believe you said that. He knows your mama. What would the dad jokes be? Also, your mama works, but your daddy doesn't feel right. Your papa? Let's do your daddy ones. Your daddy's so dumb. Just daddy. Sugar daddy. Stars. Stars and cars. If anybody knows that reference besides my wife and I give you major props. And for people who are in Kidlit, they should know what that is. Right, Lauren? Anybody want to know what Stars and Cars is from? Look it up. I wonder. It is pretty obscure, but I bet you if you typed it in to Google, you might be able to get the reference from it. Yeah. Stars and Cars. And some like book preview or something. Nothing? Is anybody curious what Stars and Cars is from? Oh, I'm playing with oil pastels and my cat keeps coming over and sits on my drawing. Your cat's going to get an oily butt. There was once, and my wife thinks this is funny. There was once where I woke up in the middle of the night and my cat was sitting her bare ass beehole right down on my mouth as I was sleeping and literally had it on my lips. And then for the rest of the night, I was thinking I could keep my mouth open and just breathe with my mouth open and I'd be okay. And then as I was getting sleepy, I'm like, there's no way this is going to happen. And so I had to get up and wash my mouth off, because gross. But there was a moment there where I really did consider, like, I can probably last the whole night. No, I won't ever touch the outside of my lips. I don't know if I've had that happen I've had it close with the cats that we have now, but that was little kitty. Little kitty decided to give me a little switcheroo with the back end in the middle of the night in our old apartment. The old brown kiss, as they called it back in the day. That's how you get pink eye. That's how you get what's the thrush. That's how you get hoof and mouth, but not hoof. It's something else. So let's see. Do I want to do that's a scientific fact. Should I put a word or like something in here that says like blast off or like 1, 2, 3 or something of that sort? And if so, what should it say? I feel like I need something down here anyways. But it's a question of what. It also probably needs something else up in here, and I don't know what. I'll figure that out. I got time. But whoa. Just the word whoa. What? Whoosh. Where did I see whoa? Oh. Someone's got dyslexia. That someone is me. Someone saw extra letters that no one else could see. That was a pretty good rhyme, I'm just saying. If anybody's questioning. Now I know that like I've not been diagnosed with dyslexia, but there are times where I just miss things, not necessarily like just that, but like in reading and things of the sort. Maybe like who knows? Maybe there's some like weird little like not weird little, that makes it sound awful, but something that like I've never had someone explain, or like some scientific thing that I can say like, oh, this is what's going on in my brain. I've just been cruising along thinking everything's kosher, and in reality I could have had certain things figured out for me or helped at a much earlier state. I definitely have hearing issues, right, Lauren? But like the other day, I handed in a thing for my sabbatical, and it had like crazy spelling errors, like things that no person should have ever let through, and I just did not see any of it. And that's problematic, especially in an instance where you need to show off that you're like smart. I mean, it was my CV and my proposal for my sabbatical. Like, I spent years building this thing up. It's 100 and something odd pages, and then like the first thing, or better yet, I put forward my paperwork for rank at school, and yes, I get it, rank like stinky. I put that forward, and I misspelled curriculum on it, right on the cover, curriculum vitae, and I misspelled the word curriculum. I don't even know how I spelled it. Someone else pointed it out to me and like, do you want to correct this? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And then I handed the next thing, and it's I mean, it was like just word curriculum for someone who has been teaching and in the role that I'm in at this point. I should be able to spell it. Now, entrepreneurial, that's a tough one. That's one that like I don't know if I'll ever be able to say that confidently that I know how that's spelled. Here's my guess. Ready? ENTREP. EUR. No. EU entrepreneur. Yeah. EUR NIAL. Who's going to check it? The M. Oh, I thought you said the M. I'm like, it's not entrepreneur. I can't even say it with an M. Entrepreneurial. Entre. ANTRE. PRE. PRE. NEUR. NIAL. Is that right? ENTREP. RE. N E. Oh, nice. ENTREPRENEURLI. Yeah, that's what I said. I spelled it correctly now. Should it say something else up here? Would that be silly if it said whoosh down here? What if it said woo and then dot 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 oosh? That's so dumb. Like it's so long of a whoosh. But then it would look like who. So people would read it as whoosh. And I don't want that. Is it silly? Should it have one less O? What do you think, Lauren? Should I have one less O? Like, I think it's funnier in my mind if it has multiple O's, so it whoosh. But I feel like it needs something else then. Like, it needs something. Character says fudge. I like extra O. And like, I mean, I guess I could somewhat line it up with this, so it's sort of like builds on that in some way. It says whoosh like that. I was thinking about putting some like white stripes in here too that sort of like angle up. And so like, let me see if I can get those. Hold on, everybody. Calm down. Everybody's getting all up in my face, up in my grill. Yeah, I got a grill. What of it? Let's straighten this out. Close. I was thinking if I did things like this. Let's sort of have these like boom pows. I know technical. So it sort of had this explosion that was happening from this edge. And sort of gives the impression that stuff is exploding out this way. Cutting some more of these. So like one here. Is that crazy? Now maybe adding too much. Is that too much? Oh, sorry. It's off screen a little bit. There, I'll move it back on screen. Is that too much to do some of that? I mean, I could cut some on behind the clouds too. But too much. So like they're coming from behind the clouds and through the clouds and things of the sort. So it's not like they're literally sitting on top of this stuff. There's something to give that explosion element. And then what I might do is actually lean the word whoosh a little bit more, so it's things are emanating from that corner. I just kind of like the idea of like they may be a little thick. I might thin them out a little. Let's thin them out a little. This is hard to cut them in half. go. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'll make those thin. I can do that. And what I'll do is I will put them in, and then I'll hide some behind the clouds, some in front of the clouds, so it really feels like we're racing up into outer space. Boom. Just cutting some of these in half. Cutting some of these in half. Something about a golden calf. I'm cutting these in half. I just saw something that I liked. Let's see what I kind of like this idea of this, like, doing that. That's kind of fun too. You all right up there? Somebody ate too much food. Don't even talk about it. Is that what you were thinking? Don't even talk about it. Let's get some of these up in here like so. That one needs to be more of an angle, actually, like this. I'll make this one like, boom, end up in that cloud. There we go. And then, zoom, zoom, zoom. Stick it down there like that. 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 That's a bad one. That one's bad. I don't like that one. It's bad. It's a bad dude. Real bad guy. Okay, let's get this guy on there. I lost an H. It stuck to that. Boom. Put this guy in there like so. Let's see, he needs to be maybe stuck up in there like that. And then need another one. This one goes over here like so. I'll make this one stick a little further out. Let's get it. Ah, it's not sticky enough. Hold on. Stick it down, George. One last one. I think this one will sit right here. I'll tuck it behind that cloud. I'll tuck these in behind some of these. Make sure these are all stuck down to the point that I need them, and then I'll come back and trim those out of the way. Where's my Zacto blade? There it is. So like something like this, I just go, yeah, and that one comes off. This one, I'm gonna fight behind there. Oop. This one will come down all the way down here. That one can go there. That one can go there. Boom, boom, boom. Do I want that? Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut this one here. Peel that one. Cut this one back over here. And maybe this will work, maybe this won't, but we'll see. We'll see in a matter of a few seconds here. What I want to get is this to just feel more sort of pow out of that corner. I know, technical. There's my Pauly Shore imitation. Hey everybody, what's your favorite Pauly Shore movie? If you don't have one, don't be ashamed. It just means you haven't seen enough Pauly Shore movies. Or that they're all so good that you like them all equally, which is okay too. Oren, what's your favorite Pauly Shore movie? Is it Son-in-Law? Oh, is it what I think it is? Encino Man. Full S. That is. Everybody knows what the best Pauly Shore movie is, and that ain't it. That ain't it. I'm pretty sure I did. Mm-hmm. Letha. Did you ever have a crush on Pauly Shore, Lauren? Oh, she said yes, everybody. She said yes. She said, uh-huh, big time. Said she was in love with the wheeze. Said she really loved a vest and a bandana combo and short shorts. She was into it. That's what she just said from upstairs. I heard her. No one else is answering about Pauly Shore. It may be just you and me on here, Lauren, right now because I started talking about Pauly Shore. We won't have a lot of Wheeze fans crossover, you know. It's not a very good Venn diagram. Studiohoffmann and Pauly Shore crossover. Teacher Marin, okay, you can't. You're sitting there. You have not said anything about your favorite Pauly Shore movie, so clearly you're not paying attention. I mean, if this were class, I'd say, yeah, you're here, but you're not really here, you know? Just showing up isn't the grade. Participation, that's the trick. You were overseas at the time. Okay, Teacher Marin, trying to wiggle out of this. You know what? They still have the movies available right now, so you know. Like, I wasn't alive when Singing in the Rain was made, but you know what? I've seen it. So no excuses. What? What did you say, Lauren? Uh-huh. Singing in the Rain, Pauly Shore movies. Okay, now the real question. Yeah. You'll have to look them up and report back. Teacher Marin, your assignment for the week is you need to watch at least one Pauly Shore movie, if not two, so you have something to compare. Now, Lauren's favorite is Encino Man, which is clearly wrong. And my favorite is Biodome, which is clearly right. And so, you know, maybe watch those two and then come back to us and say who wins. What? Actually, I don't think that's a lot of hours, Lauren. Both of those are probably like an hour and a half each. Trying to claim those are a lot of hours. That's a lot of watching of Pauly Shore, but I would beg to differ that I don't think there's a Pauly Shore movie that goes over an hour and 40. That's my guess. So, in the time to watch something like 1918, you could watch 2 Pauly Shore movies. A Scorsese movie, maybe even 3 Pauly Shore movies. Again, comparable. Wouldn't that be amazing if, like, at some point Pauly Shore made a comeback for like movies, but it was being directed by Martin Scorsese? Okay, here's the question. Please don't. Here's the question for everybody that's watching. Everybody that's watching. If you had to have one actor or actress from back in the day, when I say back in the day, I don't know what that means, but back in the day, Teacher Marin's the only one watching. Teacher Marin, here you go. Here's your question. So when Pulp Fiction came out, that was like John Travolta went from being a big movie star to sort of has been, and then back into being a big movie star because of Pulp Fiction. You know, he had a resurgence, let's say. And even Lauren's favorite, Brendan Fraser, was big in Encino Man, and then sort of fell off and came back in the what was it called? The Whale, if I remember correctly, or what's his name from Goonies? Came back in what? Well, Sean Astin, but what's the other guy? No, Data from Goonies. I can't think of his real name. All I can think of is Data. Anyways, he comes back, and now all of a sudden he's like a player in the industry again, right? He has this big comeback. So the question is, what actor or actress has gone the way of the dodo, but you would like to see come back in a resurgence and get the love that they once got from the entertainment industry? Like, come back in like a really cool movie, not just like come back and be in like a D movie, but like come back and like really make a go of it. Yeah, I'll trust that. Type it in. Yeah. Christy Nichols. Who's Christy? I know the name, but like I can't place. What's Christy Nichols from? Why would I know Christy Nichols? Help me out there. The name sounds really familiar. I'm gonna do something that's loud, so just bear with it, everybody. Pencil sharpener. Whoa, oh, it's falling apart. Electric pencil sharpener, I mean. Oh, that didn't do it. There we go, that's what I want. Okay, quick call. What is it? Where? What? What's on Ada's now? I'd have to think of which one it was, like who it was on Ada's Enough. I know that, like, I know the people on it, but I can't think of faces. I would need to see the face. I'll look it up after this. I'm sure it's everything that's cracked up to be. Where's my eraser? There it is. It's a quiet crowd tonight. What? It isn't a crowd? Oh, Three's company. You're right. It's company tonight. See what I did there, everybody? And that's why I get paid the no bucks. I gotta get up early and go to school tomorrow and sit around and do evals all day. I know that you're all jealous. That's it. I just know you're jealous. Okay, let's see. I do a few little touches here on a couple of these things and then call it a night. And I'll just have this lovely little piece about these kids going up in outer space. For what? I don't know. Why? I don't know. Stop asking me those questions. I'll put some little colors up in here, up in here, up in here. Are people ready for the holidays? That's what my wife just asked. You better be. Because Santa's coming to town. And he knows if you've been good or nice or something. What? Naughty or nice? Because he's a creep. TLC wrote a song about him, I think. Is that TLC? that wrote that song about Santa? Santa? He's a creep? Yeah. Yeah, isn't that about Santa? Something like that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the wrong thing. He's a scrub. Okay, there's my whoosh rocket. Who do I think should have a comeback? Besides AC Slater? No, who do I think should have a comeback? Skippy from Family Ties. No, oh, you know, it'd be a really good one. And this one's a weird one. I don't know why. I can't think of his name, but Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. Like, if you saw a movie with him in it, and he was like really serious acting, and you're like, oh, why does this guy look so familiar? Like, he seems so familiar. I can't place him. And then all of a sudden you look him up, and you're like, oh my God, that's Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. Like, what a reward that would be. What? Corey Feldman? No. I don't think he deserves that. He's been in things that he's good, but he's been in things where he's horrible. Lauren, you've never seen the movie Big Man on Campus, have you? At some point we should watch that. It's really good. Like, I'm pretty sure it would have, if it wasn't like in competition with other things that year, would have been an Oscar. Right there. With Bob Ooga Looga 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 Looga. For those of you who have seen it, you know the scene. I'm just gonna get a piece of paper, put it underneath this one, and then we'll call it a day. Give me 1 second. Got 2 pieces? Yeah, it is. That's me tearing paper, everybody. That's not what you think it was. Okay, let's get this in here. Let me get this leveled out a little better. Whoop. It's all curled up, so if I go like that, it's maybe a little better. What? Who was? She was a Big Man on Campus? Oh, man. All right, folks. So this is it for the evening. Thank you, Teacher Marin. This is the piece for the night. Again, for those that didn't get here at the beginning, Cecilia Ruiz, although I'm saying that probably bad because it has much more flavor than what I just said. I said it with a very cornstarchy approach. But Cecilia Ruiz was on and is amazing and was a lovely conversation. And you should go back and watch this from the beginning. If you have not already, it will be posted in a matter of minutes. Otherwise, I will see people on Tuesday next week when I have Meg Hunt on. And then after that, we have on Thursday Game and Doodle, which we haven't done in a couple of years, it sounds like. And Lauren, my wife, will be hosting that, and she's excited about it. Been doing lots of planning. I don't even know what's going to happen. She's got it all planned, and so she's going to be the host. And that night we have Jared Chapman, we have Kim Smith, and we have Nina Mata. And so tune in for that one as well. And that one should be a fun night of games and doodling and chaos, because there'll be 4 of us on screen doing things that we don't know that we're supposed to be doing. So that's it. Y'all have a lovely evening. I will see you again on Tuesday. Bye.